So, I don't know where we're going to start on this mind bender of a week, because they kind of had the same day 3 times, and then there's... How did you... I think... Let's get the format of the week out of the way first, I think. What did you make?
Format of the week.
The Coronation Street's format of the week. What did you make of it? The reverses, the different perspectives.
It definitely threw me off, because I thought something different was going to happen. That was quite ambitious. They didn't do that. I'm happy with how it went, but what I was expecting was kind of like a memento, kind of like every day you had the same exact things, but layers of meaning were built upon each one. So it kind of happened a little bit, but not the whole week. So Friday and was nothing to do with anything.
Well, yeah, even Thursday they didn't have that rewind. It was almost like they kind of had the idea for let's do a week of different perspectives, and I was all down with it. I was a little bit uncertain on Monday, but I think that Monday starting with Sarah Louise and Bethany, well, mostly Sarah, that wasn't for me the strongest start to the week, because she's not the character that I'm most interested in with this story. But once they got going again with it on the Tuesday, I was definitely all in on it, and I was actually then looking forward to seeing, well, what's going to happen the rest of the week? Are we going to have 5 different characters?
That's what I wanted to happen, and I'm really big into the unreliable narrator, which is such a difficult thing to do in a soap, because you are the narrator, aren't you? You're the observer, and so everything that happens is true that you see. Right, and sometimes Corey plays around with that, where it's a dream, or something it's not really reality or something like that. But I was
increasingly more so in recent years.
I kind of wanted them. I don't know if I was expected or it was just a wish, where with the coffee stuff, and Dee Dee. Who was it? Dee Dee had it in her hand, and then she kind of knocked into Sarah.
Sarah.
And then it went over Carla's shoes. And I was kind of like wondering whether they would do something like where, from the perspective of Sarah, it was like Dee Dee bumped into her, but actually Dee Dee bumped in, the other way around.
I didn't.
And I don't think they would ever do that, because I think it just is too challenging to watch. But I don't think people are that dumb. I think people could.
I mean, they have had, when they did Emmerdale, and they had the dementia story back before Ian came here, and they had from I can't remember, Ashley, was it, his perspective, and he was seeing the characters looking different, so in a way that was an unreliable narrator. Yeah. I wouldn't have minded that. All I wanted, let me just go back to, I was really hoping that they'd kept it for 5 days. Yeah. In a way, maybe it's better that they didn't, because they had to move on. By the end of Wednesday, I wanted to know what happened next, because each of the days kind of ended, well, maybe Tuesday and Wednesday at least, ended with Griff going into Roy's cell. And if they just repeated the same trick day after day after day, they wouldn't have gone any further than that, probably. So it made sense, but it also did come across as feeling, by the time they get to Thursday, or if you run out of characters for the perspective to be from. I was really, really expecting it to be something from maybe Hope or Ruby's perspective, because they were the 2 main characters from that little intro sequence that had some kind of relevance, but then we didn't see what was their experience during the day, although it turned out not very much. They got the necklace, or Hope found the necklace, Ruby tells her you need to give it back, and then she does. She does on Thursday, so she didn't go off on a little adventure, but fair enough. I suppose what I was mostly hoping for with it going throughout the whole week was what Friday being Lauren's perspective, not so much Lawrence's perspective of what happened on that day, but here's what happened during the attack. And we did get that on Thursday briefly, and that was a great reveal, don't get me wrong there. But I still feel that at the end of the week we don't necessarily know enough about what's happened to Lauren. Like we saw Nathan.
How did he get her out of
even I'm saying it's Nathan now. Joel. Yeah, there's so many unanswered questions about it. Maybe we'll cover it later. But
because Joel's an actor size, like us. We're all actor size, aren't we?
Oh, petite.
How does an actor size person carry another actor size person in a bag or a box or something without people noticing? That's a heavy thing you've got. And why is the bag so comically enormous? And he didn't dismember her in there because they didn't find any evidence of that.
Well, look, it's still... I suppose the big problem, maybe it's a problem, I don't know, that I have with it at the end of this week is we still don't know if she's dead or not. And
Yeah.
I know they're saying that she is. And Corrie and everybody who's doing reporting for Corrie, because they've probably been told by the Coronation Street Press Department, have been, keep that line, Lauren's killer, who's Lauren killer? Lauren's dead, who's Lauren's murderer? But I'm sorry, I can't believe it. I do not at all believe that Lauren is dead.
If they wanted us to think she was dead, they didn't do a good enough job, because there's still so much doubt around whether she's dead or not.
Room for interpretation of that scene. Anyway, let's
you didn't see her at the body. You just saw her get whacked in the head.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that in reality she would have survived that. But this is not reality. Stranger things have happened. Ask Emily Bishop about head injuries.
Quite. And Pat Phelan, he was the master of surviving a head injury, wasn't he?
And getting to a certain extent.
He got tough skulls in Weatherfield. Maxine must have moved there when she was when she was younger.
To a certain extent, also Gary.
Yes.
But I did do a. Where's this poll? Yeah. Do you think Lauren is dead or alive? And 70% of people still think she's alive. And that is 562 votes. So quite a lot of people voted in that poll.
And the fact that so many people are thinking that makes me wish even more that they just told us. I was... Fridays in these Britain's Got Talent week or the Super Soap week is often the come down. I said at the beginning of the week, I think Thursday's when it's going to hit the climax, because it always does. But then it's not that they like flub the ending, but the Friday is often the come down after the drama of Thursday, and that's certainly how it was today. But I was holding out hope that as a last scene of the episode or a twist at the end of the week, we'd be cut to Lauren,
yeah.
Still banging her head going, oh, still smarts after all that time, or whatever she is at the moment. Because like I said, if she was dead, I think they'd have made that more obvious.
But if she is dead, they have messed up, haven't they?
I mean, it could be a brilliant double bluff, because surely they must know that people would be thinking,
no.
Is she dead?
I don't think they can always predict. And also the other thing to remember, and I think, we don't have very good perspective on what the average watcher is thinking. The kind of person who'd be like, oh, should we watch Corrie's on? Should we watch it? Or, oh, I forgot Corrie's on. Or, that we're never like that. Well, you're not. Sometimes I'm like, oh, Bank Holiday should not have Coronation Street on it. But
only because it's work for us to some extent.
But so the average person is going to be, oh, she must be dead.
Maybe.
I mean, let's face it. We found out some shocking information today. Is Callum Lil?
Yeah.
He's the guy who plays
Joel.
And his family had no suspicions at all that he was the murderer.
So he says.
They obviously don't listen to Conversation Street because everybody who listens, and our Twitter feed was full of it as well. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. But I just want to say, just because we guessed it was possible doesn't mean that it's the same as predicting it.
No, and I don't think that we were the originators of the idea that it was Joel. I think I saw it somewhere else and latched onto it.
I've never said that. I came up with it, but.
But anyway, going back to the format of the week, I did appreciate that they were doing something a bit different, because they've almost got themselves into a what can we do different this year kind of situation now, haven't they? And they sometimes they'll do a big stunt. I wasn't expecting there to necessarily be a big stunt this year. Back to the topic of budgets again at ITV, can they afford a big stunt? Who knows? But I've been, Ian McLeod's biggest critic in terms of doing all weird things for the cameras and flashbacks and projections on walls and everything like that. But I was pleasantly surprised by how much I didn't mind. In fact, no, I like the concept of the different perspectives. What I was hoping for on Monday, and we did get it to some extent, is that we would be able to, on a rewatch, notice things that we hadn't noticed before. There was a little bit of that, but then, as I say, by the time Wednesday's episode was up, we'd seen everything because they moved on Thursday.
More.
No, I mean, I'm sure, for example, that some people watching would have missed Hope and Ruby getting something out of the car at the very, very beginning of Monday's episode, because that was in the first 5 seconds or so of it. So probably people watched back and went, aha, there's that. I did like how sometimes we would see scenes on like Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they would seamlessly merge into a scene that we'd walked in halfway through the previous day. Like there was one bit where I think it was Carla and Nina were chatting in the cafe, and I didn't think anything of it. And then whoever it is, Bethany DJ comes in and says, "Oh, guess what? Roy can be released." I was like, "Oh, this is what we were watching. I had no idea." So that was great. They had little things like, was it Monday's episode? I think Sarah Lou comes back to the street and Sam's there covered in soap suds. Yeah. And then on Wednesday we find out that
he got covered in soap.
We found out that Glenda had enlisted him to be a washer because he preferred the promotion side of things. But I mean, that was kind of small fry. Who sorry, Sam, but wasn't really interested.
I mean,
in that.
The thing about it is not Inside Number 9, is it?
No,
it's Coronation Street. They're never going to make a week's worth of intricately detailed, insanely complicated narration that you have to watch twice to understand, because that's not what Coronation Street is. Wouldn't be true to the format of the show, wouldn't be true to the origins of the show. When 1960, you just wouldn't have been able to watch it again ever, would you?
No, I think that they did a good job.
I think they did a good job. I think that was a very, very solid week.
And having the start off of the couple of episodes with the teacup dropping on Roy's, but that turned out to be nothing, didn't it? That was a massive red herring. It's like, oh no, what's happened to Roy? Something did happen to Roy, but the fact that it was Roscoe that dropped it was tea.
No, it wasn't the tea that happened to him.
Yeah. That was just Roscoe dropping it on the floor on Wednesday.
I'm not sure how they could have really begun the week with Roy's making a noose.
Oh gosh, yeah.
What will happen next?
Grim, wouldn't it? So I like that. I really like their use of the lark ascending. And again, I'm usually dead against music in Coronation Street. Well, this was the piece of music that I've seen lots of people point this out, but I guess not everyone might know. This was the piece of music that was playing when for Hayley's final scene. So when she was there lying on the bed drinking a noxious concoction with Roy next to him, she was listening to that as her final piece of music.
And that was what we played at the beginning of the episode.
That was also played at the beginning of today's podcast, if you listen to it right from the beginning. So that was, a very important piece of music for Roy. And I suppose, it can't have been a coincidence that they used it. So well done to whoever came up with the idea of that, because although at no point during the week was I concerned or worried in any way that Roy was going to end up dead at the end of it, I guess putting it there does make you think, oh, this is Hayley's death music.
Well, it's a thematically
is it going to be Roy's as well?
Complex song to use there, and it had a double meaning, really, because the song is what's the word? Linked to Hayley. So the memory of Hayley was what kind of kept him going through the whole thing. Like the photo, he clutched the photo. But also, it's a song that's linked in the show to the act of suicide, and that's what Griff was setting him up for.
Yes, actually I hadn't even considered that, you're right.
So it had a kind of a double meaning there, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and then they used it when he came out of prison as well. Some people would have said that was twee, and I'm usually the first person to call out anything that's even the slightest bit twee, but I did really, really enjoy that, the scene where he came out and Nina gave him a big hug and he was looking up into the sky. Nice.
And as you might know, they used the front of the ITV studio, the Coronation Street set, gates. Sometimes they'll put the Highfield prison sign up out there, which is the main entrance you go in and out, but they also use the side gate, which is further down. I've forgotten the name of that road.
Trafford Wharf Road.
Trafford
Wharf Road.
Yeah, the bit further down, you'll walk past it if you're going up to the main gates.
Yeah, so Roy was walking from the street into the compound, which is why they had to have the prison van behind him, because if the
you
prison
would have
van
seen
hadn't there, you'd have seen he was
He's
walking
not
out
coming
coming
from a
into
prison.
something. So I like that, and they also used the that Like Ascending music when they did like the rewind on Tuesday and Wednesday, didn't they? They had a super fast rewind at the beginning of Wednesdays. But on Tuesdays, when they had the characters going backwards, the coffee cup jumping off of the floor into Carla's hand, or who was it? No, Dee Dee's hand. Sorry, the Hope and Ruby running back away from the car. It was weird, and I'm sure it confused some people.
They
And
should have had that song
I have seen some characters, people online saying, "Oh, I thought I was watching the same episode," or "My grandma said, is this a repeat that's on today?" But
I mean, if there are probably lots of anxious people making GP appointments because they think they've got early onset dementia.
Well, you made the point, I can't remember whether it was Tuesday or Wednesdays when we were watching. If we were to combine together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday's episodes, how much original material would we get?
Well, I said to you, we've already been robbed of half an hour, and then they've repeated another 20 minutes.
Exactly. So we had 5 half-hour episodes this week, but they're only 22, 23 minutes in the whole. And if part of that on Tuesday and Wednesday was stuff that we'd already seen, we totally got robbed this week.
Robbed blind.
Everyone seems to enjoy the half-hour format that we've seen online.
You don't.
I do not.
I do. I think that it gives them more freedom to play around with the concept. And having watched some of the older 60s episodes, they were so episodic. And I think it really suits Coronation Street to have that. I mean, you don't get that at all ever on Coronation Street now. I cannot think of a single episode that anybody could watch. Or
10,000, that was a bit on its own, wasn't it?
It's more of a cake, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So back in the day, you could be like, in this episode, I don't know, I'm trying to think, well, maybe Ken's mum dies. Mm-hmm. And in this episode, I'm trying to think of ones that were on the DVD. Was there one where
they go to Blackpool?
Yeah. So you just drop in on a moment, and there are links that go through. And honestly, I don't think that Coronation Street would have survived if they hadn't have had ongoing stories, because that's what brings people back. But being able to just do a half hour a week where you're like, this is just, maybe this is Swain going to buy a new leather jacket. What adventures would you get into? People would love it. There are so many shows that are kind of along those lines where nothing really happens. It's just engaging characters with good dialogue and interesting and relatable things happen to them. Coronation Street is perfectly set up for that kind of thing, but you cannot do it in an hour.
I remember when Corrie switched from 5 episodes to 6, and we said, I wonder what they'll do with that extra 6th episode. And I think I was probably on the side of, they'll just fill it with more stuff. But one of the ideas that we kind of bandied about was, would they give more time, or even have a half an hour slot a week which was just side stories and away from the main plots, and they never did. They literally just stretched out that middle Wednesday episode,
pack everything in. That's the trouble.
Yeah, but on the whole, I still prefer the hour formats. I definitely prefer the hour to the 2 half an hour with Paul O'Grady or whoever it was in the middle.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Paul O'Grady. But just with these half an hours, it just seemed to be over before I knew it. And even with the 60s episodes, I think that they were closer to 26, 27 minutes. 22 really is nothing. And with EastEnders, you get you pretty much get your half an hour there, don't you? Because you haven't got the advert.
Yeah,
breaks.
EastEnders is actually not that. What we got, 42 minutes for Corrie.
Yeah.
Half an hour, 42 minutes.
Yeah. I wonder how
What's
it compares in time, and there's certainly fewer episodes.
But
of EastEnders in a
I do
week
think I remember when we watched the Christmas one.
What, the Christmas EastEnders?
Yeah, like, this is
what
going on, isn't it? Where's Connie? Where's Trevor?
So I mean, I will say, no, I suppose Thursdays and Fridays maybe didn't feel like they were over too soon, particularly you know, with Tuesday and Wednesday, because we were retreading old ground quite a lot, with a few extra bits, you know, we had all the Carla and Swain stuff on Tuesday, we had a little bit more of Dee Dee and Roy, I think it was, on Wednesday, but by the time we reached the end on Tuesday and Wednesdays, I really did feel like, what have we got that's really new here? I did very much enjoy having it every night of the week. I don't know whether I'd want to...
Imagine being an Emmerdale fan.
I know. I don't think I'd want, you know, as a Coronation Street podcaster, to have it on every night for half an hour.
I don't think we could go.
Just because it's nice for us to sometimes
do other things.
We do love Coronation Street, of course we do, but it's nice on Tuesdays and Thursdays, even though we're often recording on one of those days, to have a Corrie-free night, and also, I suppose, because there's no Corrie on Tuesdays, that does give us an opportunity to record our bonus podcast of the week. But
there are only 3 days a week that we don't have Coronation Street.
What's that?
Thursday, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I guess. So anyway, that was...
I don't mind. Don't mind at all.
I enjoyed for this week knowing every day, ooh, Corrie's on later.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's because you know it's an event. It's like, ooh, Coronation Street has put together an event for me to enjoy. You know, they want me to enjoy this week. This is a special treat. That's what, you know, that's why that is good. If it was like that every week, I think the novelty would wear off very quickly, especially when it would be like, you know, nothing happened again. Oh, well, nothing happened in that episode.
Yeah.
Or more like everything happened in that episode, but it means nothing.
Yeah. I'm glad that on tonight's episode, even though it was a bit of a come down after the climax, they didn't they didn't give in to the temptation of starting to put in more from different stories, because I think in some years they have done that. It was great that this week was all one story.
Yeah, I don't want to hear from anyone else.
I am kind of wondering, you know, what's going on with Abby and her videos at the moment. How's Paul getting on?
Even some of the people in the story, I'm like, I'm not interested in you right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. There were some people that I would have appreciated seeing more of Sundays than other days. I don't want to, you know, rag on her too much, but it's not.
Who?
Every time that Bethany and Daniel's scene came on this week, I was like. And I don't have a huge problem with those characters, but they weren't necessarily who I wanted to see the most of.
I don't know.
As the week went on.
You've got nothing to tell me. You've got no information. I don't care. You've got no secrets.
As the week went on, I just find myself wanting to see more and more of Joel.
Yeah, I know.
Especially with the necklace revelation. So that was the other thing with this format. It did give you as a viewer the chance to, if you were eagle-eyed enough, spot things and say, "Ooh, I bet that's that." But which we did, didn't we? Because we'd seen, we saw Hope getting something from the car on Monday, and actually I was a little bit annoyed with that because I had watched the trailer. I don't usually watch trailers, not that they do them very much.
We normally watch trailers for Britain's Got Talent week, though.
We do usually. I mean, for me personally, it will often come down to, does this look like it's a specially made trailer with footage that's not come from the programme? So the last proper time they did that in Coronation Street was 2 years ago, when they had the Imran and Abby Swirly Swirly trailer. Loved it. And we did a great analysis video of it, even if I do say so myself. It was great fun to do.
Well, it was funny. It was supposed to be a joke, tongue in cheek.
Yeah. And when I saw that they dropped a trailer for this week, I was like, okay, let me just see, is it a specially shot one or is it just full of spoilery clips from the show? And I turn it on and it's got the funny, expensive camera, backwards coffee dropping slow motion malarkey, and I thought, oh, this is not a clip from the show. I'm safe to watch this. This is just kind of giving me a little idea of what it's going to be like. Obviously, now I've seen the week's episode, it absolutely came from the show. And as I watched the trailer, then it started to put in other clips that were clearly from the show, and I was like, oh, I wish I hadn't seen that now. And after Monday's episode, I was really quite kicking myself for having seen the trailer, because the big clue there was that Hope had the necklace. And I was watching when I first saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, Hope's got the Lauren's necklace. How does she get hold of that? Where's that gonna go?" And as soon as I saw that she was sneaking about with the car on Monday, and then hearing her and Ruby saying, "Oh, you got to give it back," I was then like, "Well, she's got the necklace, hasn't she?" And I think I probably would have preferred to have. Over Monday night and Tuesday going, what's she got? And I wonder whether I would have guessed it. I wonder whether any of our listeners who didn't see the trailer guessed that it might be the necklace. Well, at least that was revealed on Tuesday that that's what it was. But then we were left through the rest of the week saying, I want to know more about the necklace. What's going to happen with that? Because that was clearly what was going to tie this all together, and the reveal of the killer. You'd seen... that the killer would be revealed on Thursday, hadn't you? Mm-hmm. So you knew it was going to happen then. I didn't have any idea. But I was convinced, basically, from straight away on Monday's episode, that car was Joel's. And I wasn't going to let it drop. And I was saying, that's a fancy car. It looks like that might be a solicitor's car. What's it? And then it wasn't until Thursday that the reveal came out, and I did feel very pleased with myself on Thursday's episode when he walks across the street and it is indeed his car. But yeah, I wish I hadn't seen that on the trailer. As soon as we see him in the cafe and he's kind of standing there by the door on Thursday, giving Dee Dee a kiss and a cuddle and a makeup, and I kind of turned to you and said, he's going to go out the door and go to his car now, and he did. So. With that, I was like, oh yeah, this format definitely works.
No one on Coronation Street had a car until this week.
Yeah, well, they always just like to show up whenever the plot calls for it, like Bernie in a car. When Glenda
said she was going to do a charity car wash, I was thinking, you're barking up the wrong tree, love.
Yeah, in Weatherfield, nobody
drives a car, but Ken's got one, Dee Dee's got one, Joel's got one.
Yeah.
Everybody.
What I didn't get was... We knew that Joel's car was parked over by the bus. It was by the bus stop, wasn't it? So I don't know whether it was blocking buses all day.
It was bank holiday. No buses allowed.
Ah, okay. Well, no, so it was parked there in the morning, and then it wasn't until, I guess, late afternoon that he returns to the car. But at some point during the day, he was at the police station. So was he literally... And his car was being washed first thing in the morning. So why didn't he move his car all day? Or did he just return to that slot for the evening? I don't really know. Anything else kind of format-wise of the week or general bits that that is worth mentioning before we get cracking?
If I think of anything, I will bring it up later.
So we thought we would, just for easiness' sake, simplicity's sake, just run through it day by day of the episode. It could have been possible to have tried to combine all our notes and got some kind of chronological narrative about what happened, but I couldn't be bothered, quite frankly, and I thought we'd just go back over it how we saw it. So can you take Monday's episode and give us a quick rundown of what happened there? Sarah's day was boring. Sorry, Sarah. Oh yeah, you gave this a bobbins on the Street Talk shorts, didn't you?
This was such an unfortunate way to begin the week. They had to do something. They had to. It's kind of like The Straight Man in a comedy, where somebody's got to like set up for the punchline, So nothing particularly of note to me happened on Monday, and also they focused much more heavily, I think, on Sarah and Bethany than they did anybody else during their episodes. But seemed to spend a lot of time staring into space and then transitioning to another scene.
There were lots of jump shots, weren't there? Now Sarah's in the flat. Now she's at the police station. Now she's at Nathan's work.
She's thinking in her kitchen, and now she's thinking in the cafe.
Shall I set him up? Shall I plant that hair bubble?
Because, with the best will in the world, although I really like Sarah, she's not a terribly thrilling character on her own.
No, I know. It's really difficult because Tina O'Brien is absolutely superb, and I think Sarah Platt is she's obviously a very well developed character. She's been in the show, as a main character since 99 when Tina O'Brien took over the part. But you're right. Sometimes just on her own, it's a bit like an interest sucker, isn't she? I'm not really
No, because you're like, oh, she's just going to jump somebody's bones or something.
Well, I mean, the internet's already speculating over the potential of a Sarah-Kit partnership.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Let's get to that one a bit later. So Monday's episode, like we said, it starts with the tea and the coffee mug and the scene outside of the car wash. But that then follows. Oh, it's Bethany seeing Nathan in the van, isn't it? So I will leave this in your capable mouth. Tell us what happened.
All right, you don't need to introduce me. I'm also in this show. You don't have to give me an introduction.
You're a co-host. You're right. Sorry.
Right, so they're doing the car wash. Dee Dee bumps into Carla and the coffee goes all over the floor. And it gets onto Sarah's shoes and she kind of squelches along, doesn't she? But she walks along and Bethany's looking at her and the car goes past Sarah and it's Nathan driving the van. And Bethany kind of like looks stunned because he's not supposed to be there. So Bethany goes to the police station and says, oh, Nathan's breaching his licensing conditions.
I wanted to say thank you for. Sorry, I can't remember who did this now. It was somebody on our Facebook group, a very astute member of our Facebook group, that went onto Google Maps and measured the distance between the front door of number 8 and the builder's yard. Because Nathan's excuse during all of this was I didn't realise that Bethany lived at Red Bank. Which is obviously just by the builder's yard. I thought she was still at number 8 Coronation Street, and that's fine because that's within that's outside the 250 metre range that I'm allowed to go. No, it is 100% not. If whoever this was in the Facebook group, as they found out, to get from the Platt's house to the yard, it's about 90 metres. So I don't know whether Coronation Street expects us to believe that there's, a 250 metre walk between those two, but that 100% isn't. And I think for some of the tracking shots that they've done over the years, where they've run from one place to another, it's probably for the best that it's only a relatively short distance. But anyway, let's not pick holes, shall we?
I thought he had to keep 73 yards away.
73 yards, oh yeah.
And then if you go approach him, he'll whisper a secret about Bethany and you'll run away screaming.
That's a Doctor Who reference.
It's a Doctor Who reference.
It was good last week. Millie was good, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Can't talk about that.
Can't talk about that now. So,
I'm just going to take my jumper off. Excuse the rustling. Carry on.
Nathan says, my boss is actually thinking of buying the builder's yard, so maybe you should move, Bethany, because you'll be in my way.
I wonder whether that's actually anything's going to come of that.
Well, they have made a big deal about this builders company, haven't they? Dumfries. Usually they just would have people with yellow jackets on, but they've made a logo and stuff, and it's not uncommon for them to spend a lot of money on doing something like they did the production company. I don't think they are going to come back up again.
No,
but
but there's no kind of plot interest in an anonymous building company moving into the yard there, because now Nathan's been banged up. It's not like he's going to be working there. Coronation Street's builder's yard has always been run by a character,
yes.
Right back from the days of was Len Fairclough and Jerry Booth the first yard owners? I can't remember. And Charlie Stubbs has owned it, and the Baileys.
I think it's moved around a bit. I don't think it's the same.
Yeah. So and Jason, I don't think that it's going to be. Probably Ed's just going to get it back, isn't he? You got Ed, you got Gary. One of them's going to end up with the builder's yard.
Maybe.
I think so.
So. Craig's trying to explain why he doesn't care. And Bethany's like, write this down, I want you to take notes. Nathan's been hanging around near where Lauren used to work, and he was one of her Ovid subscribers, and he's still perving over young girls. He hasn't changed. You're not taking any of this down. He's still capable of grooming and raping young girls. And Craig's like, this, honestly... It's like work, isn't it? And this is Bank Holiday Monday. Craig
seriously needs to have... he needs a disciplinary.
I don't know if I mind him being rubbish at his job.
It has become an in-joke in the programme now. If he was a real-life cop, he should be stripped of his badge.
Why?
he's just useless. You know, he's having Bethany bossing him around there. You don't have a little member of the public telling you when to get out your little notebook, thank you very much. But he's just so loose-lipped. Twice this week, he gave away information that he shouldn't have done. One via the method of chomping into a burger. And he is becoming a joke character. Like Kit said something about him this week, didn't he? He was like, oh, PC tinker. Like, clearly he's a massive joke. And I suppose it's a convenient plot device that there's a police officer that's willing to tell anybody who asks anything about an ongoing investigation.
No, not always.
In real life, I don't think that he'd be plodding the beat for much longer.
Well, anyway,
that's just my thoughts.
Bethany and Sarah go to the cafe, and Bethany says, I can't stay around here. And Sarah says, no, we need more evidence against Nathan.
Evidence, eh? Thinks Sarah. The cog in her brain starts
Sarah
ticking.
Goes to the car park where Nathan's working, which is the car park of ITV Studios, and she spies on him, and she gets out of the car and starts having a go at him. And she points out, I gave you £10,000 to leave, and I was really mad then for Gary because that wasn't her money.
I know.
And she brings this up to Gary.
I paid you £10,000 of someone else's money.
Yeah.
I may not be out of pocket here, but Gary is.
And she brings this up to Gary, and Gary's like, oh, man. I'd be like, no, Sarah, I want a receipt from this. I want my money back, or I want him gone.
I know.
Gary was just so casual about it. He's like, well, you know, easy come, easy go.
It basically was, wasn't it?
Why
One day
are
a
you not
windfall,
furious?
the next day, I'm destitute.
And they're not going to get it back now, are they? Because he's in prison.
I know.
Oh, anyway.
But fair play to Nathan.
Because he was like, what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it? I don't think that this was a legally binding contract, actually. I've really enjoyed Nathan this week. It's reminded me just how charismatic an actor and great a performer that Chris Harper is.
Yeah.
He was, you know, the story back in 2017, the original Grooming story, was brilliant for many reasons. But one of them was he is a cracking actor. And I have kind of felt sorry for him in a way this week because he's totally, this time, he's innocent of this. Now, I'm not saying he's completely innocent of everything, but he's been completely thrown under the bus by various characters this week. But he's been fantastic, and I hope that he's going to still be in the show for a little bit longer. It seems like he is, doesn't he?
This story is not over.
The story's not over, and Joel is clearly gunning for pinning this whole thing on him. Whether or not he will get out in it, well, let's come to that when we get there. Right. Sorry, I interrupted you again. I'm just so excited about this week's Corrie.
So Nathan's like, take me to small claims court, why don't you? Now you're coming to hassle me at work? I don't think so. I've served my time. I'm trying to get on with normal life. And she keeps yapping at him, and then he's like, shut up, I'm not going anywhere. Maybe you and your skanky little daughter should jog on.
Oh yeah, he shushes her, doesn't he? That was brilliant. He's like, he holds his finger out, doesn't it? Shush, shush. And I think we've all wanted to do that to various members of the Platt family at some point over the years.
I'm so conflicted in this scene.
I know.
Who am I supposed to be?
He's a charming guy. He's groomed me again.
Well, the thing is about him is he has got a lot of charisma. Although he didn't seem as powerful this week to me.
No, and I liked that. I liked his kind of vulnerability and being caught off guard.
I mean, it's because he preys on small girls and young women and girls. So he seems. It's funny, you know. I say that Coronation Street is always from the perspective of, you know, what's the word? Completely unbiased observer, which is us. But actually, if you think about the original Grooming storyline, we kind of did see him through Bethany's eyes, and he was a lot scarier. I think the camera angles were a bit different. I think he was filmed, you know, slightly from underneath, so he looked taller because he was bigger than her. He was much more physically intimidating. He was physically intimidating to her. He could use violence against her. But now he's in a sort of grown-up world where nobody really is scared of him. He's not gonna.
And he's been caught on the back foot.
There's nothing he can do to you in public. You know, he's not got his connections anymore. His power is in manipulation and coercion, and it doesn't really work in a car park.
Yeah, what we saw of him this week was quite similar to when Bethany stood up to him in court, which I don't think he was expecting to happen. Brilliant stuff. And I saw Chris on he's on the Rain this morning. I was just kind of semi-watching in the hope there wouldn't be any spoilers, and there weren't really. But it was lovely seeing him. He's so posh in real life. He puts on a good Weatherfield accent for the role of Nathan.
Oh yeah, I was going to do my best. I'm really an actor. Voice for this podcast, wasn't I?
Thank goodness you've forgotten about that. I want to get Chris Harper come on for an interview, please. Anybody?
Well, he's still in the show.
I know. I don't. Oh yeah. Wait for us to be done with him on the show, and then.
Who knows? Maybe he'll start his own yoga classes.
Oh, what, in prison?
In prison. Maybe
like
he'll
Sal.
be rehabilitated like Sally.
There's so many characters in that prison at the moment. They could make a little spin-off. Maybe that could be the extra, the sixth episode of the week, just the adventures of all the crims banged up. It'd be like Orange is the New Black, Weatherfield style.
Well, like you said as a joke, when Joel was revealed to be the killer, he's gone from bread sauce to porridge.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the name of the show. Bread sauce to porridge.
I think that would probably only be us that got that one.
Right, so Gary catches Sarah on Maxine's bench later, and she's like, I've baffed your money up the wall, sorry. And he's like, don't worry about it. It's literally cool because I forgot I even owned the factory. So that getting, $100,000 for it was brilliant.
He was just pleased to be part of this week's episodes.
I'm thrilled to be here, Sarah, to be honest with you. I'm also just glad it's not a live episode. So David comes over and he's like, he just guesses everything. Oh, you bribed Nathan. The beating, Nathan's not escaped, but the police haven't gone round and tested for DNA or anything.
Because David's got nothing else exciting going on in his life at the moment. He probably has plenty of time just to sit there and piece together all the parts of the puzzle.
I think David Platt gets inside soap.
You reckon?
Yeah. He's never surprised by anything, and he's always got a quip. I think he sits down and he writes down like funny sarcastic jokes about everything that's coming up, so he's never caught on the back foot.
Yeah, it makes him look like really witty.
Yeah.
Really,
imagine if you had the power of foresight and you just used it to make jokes.
I'd love that.
You didn't use it for like personal gain or like knowing what the lottery numbers were or to avert a crisis or disaster. You'd be like, I've got a brilliant joke about what's going to happen to Donald Trump this week. Right, so Sarah gets an idea when he says DNA and she disappears. She goes to number 8, and this is why we were told last week that Max has got a creepy bag full of, well, Lauren's DNA under his bed.
Oh, yeah.
And she grabs some of Lauren's things, including a scrunchie that's got her hair on it. Then we get Bethany after the break stressing in the flat about Nathan's working nearby and Daniel's trying to reassure her. And to be honest with you, nothing Daniel would ever say to me about a violent man would reassure me. What are you going to do, Daniel? What are you going to do? Recite a sonnet at him?
That was a weird little scene.
Or push him down the stairs, I guess.
Clearly.
That's a good point, actually. We know that they live upstairs, don't they?
Yeah.
We've never seen that staircase, have we?
I think so.
They're going to have to cast that staircase, Michael, because someone's going to be pushed down it by Daniel.
Yeah. That was an odd scene because everything else in the episode had been Sarah Louise's point of view, and then I was caught off guard by the fact that there was no Sarah in this scene. As the week went on, the idea of each episode being from a particular character's point of view got looser and looser because Tuesday, for example, was very much Swain and Carla.
Yeah.
Monday was Sarah all the time, apart from this scene. Right. And I don't think this scene particularly added anything to it either.
Well,
it was
think
just
there
Bethany
was a bit
being
more
worried.
crossover, but maybe I wasn't paying as much attention. I don't know. I thought it was. So, Daniel, like I said, he's so self-centered. He doesn't care at all. He's like, oh, just don't think about it. Why don't you write about it instead? And she says, oh, I've got to do an article about air fryers, didn't she?
Yes.
Does she own an air fryer? This is typical journalism these days. Just put it through ChatGPT and finish early. It is a bank holiday. So meanwhile, Sarah's sneaking over to Nathan's van and she opens the door and she's got this scrunchie and she's like, forensically speaking, I shouldn't touch this because my DNA will be on it as well. I'll use tweezers. I hope those tweezers aren't the ones you use on your eyebrows, otherwise there's literally no point in you using them. They're covered in your DNA.
It seems, Mr. Curtis, that Sarah Louise's Platt DNA was... I know that she
Sarah
looks like...
Louise's Platt DNA?
I know it looks like Sarah Louise hasn't aged since she came into the show when she was 12, but actually she's a 40-year-old woman nearly.
And then Nathan's like, oh!
Yeah.
Right, so she's about to put it in the van, and then she's like, no, I can't do this. I'm a good person. And she puts it back in her bag, and then Nathan comes back, and he's like, what are you doing? Go away. And then Kit turns up and says, what are you doing? And she tells Kit that Nathan was on the street and he shouldn't be there, and he's in a grooming gang. And Kit's like, yeah, I know. If I was him, I would stay 100 miles from Bethany Platt, which I think's rude.
Why?
But fair. What do you mean, why? She's annoying.
Oh, you can still hear her shrieking from 100 miles away.
Nathan goes, and then we get this scene with Sarah and Kit in the car where they're having this weirdly, what's the word? Not quite intimate, but you know what I mean? Like, they're really, like, she's not holding anything back. She's telling him everything, and she doesn't even know this guy.
Yeah, she's singing like a canary, isn't she?
She is. She's got no...
I was nearly going to convert the course of justice. I'm so sorry.
But she knows loads of things she shouldn't know. Loads of murders. I'm surprised she didn't say, do you want to know what really happened to Callum? I can tell you that as well.
Oh yeah, that's still a secret, isn't
Still
it?
a secret.
Still a secret. They still think it was Tony Watt, don't it?
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, we've seen Sarah has had a conscience before.
I think she just fancies him.
I didn't particularly pick up on this, but from the discourse online, everyone, the only thing surer than a Carla and Swain hookup coming out of this week is Sarah Louise and Kit. And
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, why not? I'm still kind of on the fence about, do I like Kit or not? He was, even last week, he was really horrible to Bernie, wasn't he? And but does he deserve to?
Yeah, but I like that about him. He's not quite as horrible as somebody like, say, who was dating Anna? Owen.
Yeah.
He's not quite as horrible as Owen, but I don't need everyone to be like a nice bloke, Not everyone has to be Tyrone levels of just nice, Mr. Boring nice.
See, the thing with Kit as well is we've seen a couple of scenes of him now, 2, 3, 4 scenes of him being, with Swain kind of making fun of him and taking the mick out of him and
there's definitely
undermining,
Well, no, there's definitely a sparring going on between those two. And if we hadn't been beaten over the head with the fact that Lisa Swain is a lesbian by the press office, that we might be wondering whether it was sexual tension.
Yeah,
but
not going that way for sure. So maybe, and this I saw somebody online saying as well, maybe this is why he decided to put the hair there in the end, so that he could be celebrated for solving the case, because he's been working at that police station for a couple of weeks now,
and the only thing he's managed to solve is the mystery of who's eating all the biscuits, and we all knew it was Craig.
We knew it was Craig, yeah. No, all he's had is Swain constantly telling him he's not doing a good enough job and using him like the tea boy, and now he's the hero.
I want to know whether there's a backstory to that.
Well, I think that after Tuesday's episode, when we started to get even more of Swain's backstory, it definitely looks like Curry wants to open things up. Yeah, I suppose with Kit, he's not been in it long enough for there to have been much of a backstory.
Well, he's been transferred. Why has he been transferred? Is it because he doesn't get on with people?
Yeah, maybe.
Or did he get caught out doing something similar in his old place, and they were like, we're not dealing with the paperwork here, just get him out of there?
Could be.
I think there's an avenue to explore there, and again, like I said before, Corey's very canny with not filling out backstories of characters before they have to.
Yeah.
Because then they can make anything happen for a story.
Even though Kit has proven that he's a bit of a bent copper this week, I think that they could still redeem him if they wanted to. I don't know if they want to. I still don't know if he's secretly involved with Joel, which we'll chat about later, I expect. But I could kind of see him and Sarah settling down. Although I don't know at the moment. I was supposed to be gunning for Sarah and Gary, Sarah and Adam.
Don't know.
She can pick them, that girl, can't she?
Sarah should just take a year out.
She couldn't. She'd just shrivel up and die. She needs a man.
I think she might do, yeah. So, like I said, Kit and Sarah are in the car. And she's showing him the bag. And he's like, well, did you even have a plan about this? What were you going to do? And she's like, no, I didn't, I'm Sarah, I don't really think about things. Have I thought about anything?
I just do things and flutter my eyelashes. And
I mean, since I was pregnant with Bethany, from then to now, I've not thought once about the future.
I've just done.
I just see something I want and I does it, if you know what I mean. Wink,
But she was saying a few times this week when she was trying to defend herself to Daniel and Bethany, like, there's nothing I wouldn't do to protect my daughter, which is, fair enough. And they've not always seen eye to eye, so maybe Mum wants to help her out. But when she was there by the back of the van, I was like, no, Sarah, come on, Sarah, you pillock, don't do that, it's going to go wrong. Planting evidence is never the way to go.
So how are they so sure Nathan did it? Just because I bet you. Do we have this in this country where I know in America you can look up like sex offenders near you. And you can see where they live. I don't think you can do that here.
I've got no idea. I've never tried.
But I think it's a bit like spraying that luminol in a hotel room. You don't do it because you don't want to know what's there, really. There's probably hundreds of them everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's probably hundreds of people living around you right now who have done terrible things, who could have killed Lauren. And she's not even a real person, so... Isn't that terrifying to think about?
So what were you saying? I can't remember how you started that.
Well, I was just saying, I don't remember now, planting the evidence. Like, why do they think it's Nathan? Why are they so sure?
Why do you think? The police or the Platts?
No, the Platts.
I think
just because he's horrible.
It's Bethany. She's saying she's convinced it's him.
That's
his
what I mean,
kind of thing to do.
There are
she doesn't even know about the necklace, does she? If she did, then that would be even worse.
And so Sarah's there, like, I'm going to plant this evidence because I'm so sure that my daughter is, it's madness, isn't it? But if you're a mum, I can see why you would. I don't know why you would be this convinced, but if you were convinced, let's just say she is convinced that it's Nathan that's done it and she wants to protect Bethany from being the next victim. I don't know why she put the bubble back in the bag, really. I would have thrown hair like confetti in that van. Right, so what's his net face? Kit says
Christopher Green, yeah.
He says,
Old Zodiac.
Trust the process. Planting evidence is not going to help. And then she leaves, and then he phones the police station and he leaves a message that's a bit cryptic for Swain, like it's all in the details. And then we get a kind of like explanation for it, but it wasn't a very strong...
She's having family dramas.
No, but there was she says it's all in the details to him before then, and then he gets annoyed because she's not around because she's crying in the car with Carla. And so he parrots back this phrase to kind of get back at her under her skin that he had said to her. But it wasn't. It was a bit weak, I thought.
I mean, it was a way to use the format.
Yeah. So Sarah arrives back on Victoria Street. This is when we see Sam covered in foam, and we're like, what could have happened?
I was like, actually surprised that we didn't see him get sudded up during the week. We had Glenda saying, "Come on, Sam." But I was definitely, especially when I thought that maybe Thursday might be from Hope and Ruby's perspective. I thought that part of that might be a chance to see Jude Riordan getting a bucket of soap. Tipped over him, but alas, no.
Maybe his dad was pulling strings because his dad was the director.
Oh yes, Paul Riordan was directing this.
So maybe he was like, "Not my precious boy." Whereas I think if I was a dad and I was at work with my kid and there was a bucket of soapy water and I had a chance, I'd be like, "Dunk him, dunk him." I don't know. Maybe Mrs. Riordan had very strict instructions. So later on, Sarah's up in Bethany's flat about to confess to her what she's done when Daniel and Bertie come in, and he says, guess what, Nathan's just been arrested. He's been led into the police station, into a police car, cuffed and everything, and they're like, hooray, the plan worked. So Bethany heads to the cafe and tells Carla, Bobby and Nina that he's been arrested and his van is being investigated by forensics. Carla calls Dee Dee and says, I think Roy's getting out, but the last thing we see that episode was Roy's dark, empty cell with a mug and the book on the floor. Mm-hmm. But in real life, he's just there looking at his mug going, what did you do that for, Roscoe?
Yeah. So that was Monday and you weren't happy with it. I thought it was okay. They do often start these weeks. They never start with a huge bang, do they? I remember always being fairly disappointed by them.
But I will say I did know that to a certain extent it had to be a bit that way because I knew that it was going to be revisited. I was almost, I was 100% certain that day would be revisited from a different perspective the next day. So I wasn't particularly worried at that point. I just thought it was super unfortunate that they started, and I don't think it was inevitable. It was always going to be a bit less exciting than all the other days, right?
Mm.
But there was
because
nothing,
it was setting up the mysteries and what the answers came later.
But it was, I guess the thing is I wasn't intrigued. Because I knew that Roy wouldn't die. I knew that he was fine. I knew that, because we saw the trailer, I think. Griff was in the trailer.
Yeah.
I knew that Griff was going to be there.
I mean, the final scene of last week was Griff looking menacingly at his blade, wasn't he? Of course.
So I knew that Griff was going to attack him, and I thought, this coffee cup is related to that in some way. So I knew that was going to happen. I mean, the coffee cup falling on the floor was just like saying to us, remember what you saw on Friday last week? Yeah, I do. This is just another reminder. It hasn't progressed anything for me, really. And I know that Roy's not going to be killed or harmed in any way.
I think they could have made more out of Roy's story, or maybe we'll get to that when we talk about Thursdays. But I had no idea going into the week, and I'm really glad that I avoided knowing this, that they were going to be doing the different perspectives. And I think, well, people have told us that was put out there in the press. You didn't know that one either, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, did you?
Somebody told me.
No, I had no idea. So as it was Sarah, I was like, oh, maybe
they also told you, but you obviously weren't listening.
Clearly not. So yeah, it was a nice little technique.
Well, hang on.
And
somebody mentioned that this was going to happen at some point, and by the time I got to Monday, I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about when they made a reference to that.
So the main mysteries that were left with us on Monday were, what were they? What's going on with Hope and Ruby?
Yeah, what did they find? Whose car was it?
Yeah, what's going on? What
happened to Sam?
What happened going on with Roy? And also, I suppose, what was Nathan arrested for? I didn't even consider that, even though it was fairly obvious. Like, when I finished Mondays, it's like, he's been arrested. I was like, oh, hooray, it's just because he's bad. But then other people pointed out that there did have to be a reason, and we weren't completely sure that was.
Oh no, we didn't know
but we didn't know on Monday what it was. So we went into Tuesday.
Yes, that's right, because that was a mystery, because we didn't know what Kit had done.
No. So we went into Tuesday. I was feeling cautiously optimistic, and I was thinking, whose perspective it was going to be from that scene with the funny camera. And
I wish they had done that stupid camera.
I wish they hadn't used that silly camera.
That cost?
But all I can guess, and I don't know about these things, is that because they wanted to have slow down and reverse, that kind of camera or film stock or whatever, I don't know, I don't understand it.
I wondered
is better for doing that, but it totally took me out of it. And I started off Mondays in a really bad mood about that, because I was like, I don't like this camera, it doesn't look like Corrie, why have they made it look filmic? It was like when Roy did his cleaning up of Lauren's flat, wasn't it? I'm sure it must have been the same sort of camera they used there. And then they cut to just normal cam for everything else, and it's just jarring. But as we went into Tuesdays and we saw it again, and then they started to show it in reverse, I was like, okay,
yeah, but
I'll let you off, Corrie.
I didn't need it.
I liked it. I liked it by the end of it, and I was just a little bit sad that we didn't get to see it on Thursday.
It reminds me of, when the council, they always get a budget for roadworks, and if they don't use it all up, they don't get the same amount next year.
Yeah, you lose it, you use it. What? No.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when it's near the end of the year when everywhere's roadworks, because they're like, quickly dig everything up again. I think that's what happened to Ian McLeod and his camera budget. They're like, oh, you don't need all this money for your fancy cameras. You're like, yeah, I do. I need a reverse camera.
Yeah, so Ian McLeod was still at the helm this week, and it was pointed out to us by at Showbiz Royalty on Twitter last week that when the front page of the script for this episode was posted by someone or other on Instagram a couple of months ago, Verity was put down as the producer. And so this Twitter account said, well, Ian McLeod's not going to be credited on Monday, but he still was. And I'm thinking, how long are we going to have? Maybe this week was his final week. Sometimes the producers do like to go out on a big week, don't they? So check your credits on Monday, because maybe it's going to be Verity being interim producer
or maybe
there.
Kate
It's not Kate Brooks, because we know that Verity...
She wasn't working as producer when this was... We know that.
Yeah, exactly. We know
We were around and we were asking people and she wasn't there.
No.
And they have no reason to mislead us.
Yeah.
That would be weird. So
Yeah.
I know that she wasn't there.
I'm still at the moment seeing people online saying, "Oh, this is clearly Kate Brooks' work," or "Kate Brooks has taken over," and it's clearly no different. From what we've seen on the screen so far, this is still nothing to do with her, as far as we can tell.
Yes, it's nothing to do. It's nothing to do with her. This is what happens. I know I'm not supposed to talk about politics on the show, but this is what happens when a new person gets elected to run a country, and everyone's like, "Oh, how come this is broken?" It's like, it wasn't me. I only just got here. It's nothing to do with me. Stop moaning at me. I got nothing to do.
Oh my god! Sorry about the coughing again. It's still going.
Michael's had to have a
I was in hospital this week.
investigation.
Honestly. Yeah, no, it's not as serious as it sounds. Well, I will
we
get
don't know,
down to
do
this
we?
in a minute. I had some chest pains last week. I went to triage
excited.
about it, and they hooked me up to the ECG.
Well, hang on. Let's just be clear.
I'm fine.
That you did ask. You didn't just turn up to A&E going, "Oh, I've got a funny feeling in my chest." And they're like, "Are you excited about something?"
Well,
Maybe.
it's the big week in Corrie next
What?
week.
Do you think it might be that? No, that's not what happened. You did phone somebody up first to say,
I phoned
what should
111. They said to go to triage.
I think that's what they say to everybody, though.
Anyway, so I went to the doctor this week, and then he seemed less interested in my pains in my chest and more about the fact that I've had a cough for 6 weeks. So he said, "Go and get a chest x-ray." So I did. So yesterday I had to go to the hospital and I got zapped by an x-ray machine, and they'll hopefully tell me that I've got a chest infection and give me something for it.
Was he like, "Do you want to go on an adventure?
Yeah.
Do you want to go and use up some
very exciting. I've
valuable
never had a chest
NHS
X-ray before.
resources?"
I hope I get to see a picture of it, but I assume I won't.
You can probably ask.
Ooh. Anyway, Tuesday. Swallow Day.
Can I get a swallow?
This was a can I get a rewind
Yeah.
at the beginning of it, wasn't
That
it?
was
Check it out. We have. Yeah.
It's proper bow.
It was a proper Bow start. We've just been watching.
No, we haven't.
We'd
We'd never watch it.
we
because
never
it's wrong.
watched Bow Selector because it's
It's
absolutely
been taken
wrong.
off of television. No, it's not funny.
Right, so we get the rewind of the coffee spilling scene at the beginning. We get the lark ascending. We got Roy's coffee cup hopping up off the floor, very fancy. But it seems like it's a Carla episode because rather than following Bethany down the street, we do still see Nathan driving past and smiling at her, and we also get a little snippet of Dee Dee being on the phone outside the florist, and I was trying to rewind that scene. I was trying to rewind that scene myself and go, who's she talking to? But we find out on Wednesday that it's Roy. But anyway, Carla goes down the street. We follow her down Rosamond Street to see Sam there. And he notices that she has got a police pass, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Bobby just happens to find DS Swain's police pass at the precinct and wants to give it back." And Sam's like, "Well, Swain's over there. Look, there's her car." So, Swain's had her mind on other things at the moment. She's having family issues, and this is the absolute start of she's a main character, she's got issues. She's talking to her daughter on the phone. I don't think she got names this week.
Her daughter's a snotty little rotter, isn't she?
She's a #troubled teenager. She's a grumpy teen. From what we can see at the moment, she ticks every box in the stereotypical arsey teenager. But we've only heard of her over the phone. And I was kind of sad for her that she didn't get a credit in Tuesday's episode.
We were like, "Oh, I wonder what her name is. She must be in the credits," but she was only a voiced.
Yeah, I don't know when we'll actually get to meet her. I've not seen anything online about who's been cast as her, but clearly at this point somebody has, because they were voiced. But I don't think that she was
She hasn't
named.
been name checked yet.
We know because Vicky Myers has told us that she's called Betsy.
I thought it was Betty.
No, Betsy.
Well, just to be clear, it is still possible that her name has changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they do sometimes. I mean, they come up with names, but then they have to do checks.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely happened on the show before.
Like,
I don't know whether,
for example, that time they wanted to have that nice guy that worked at the pub called Jack the Ripper, and they were like, "Someone's done that name already. We would have to call him Jack."
What was the
Duckworth?
Pat Phelan he was gonna be called Pete, wasn't he?
I think so. And then
Pete
there was
Phelan.
a real guy. He's like,
Yeah.
please can you not?
And it may well be in the press. I don't know whether Betsy has come out yet or whether it's still a Conversation Street exclusive. But anyway, she was talking to her. What it turns out is that they've moved house recently. Betsy's been a bit arsey about it and wanted to throw a load of stuff in the skip. And Swain is trying to reason with her, but Betsy puts the phone down.
Wait for them to put one of those bags through the charity bags through the door.
Bring it all in there. Anyway, Carla doesn't get a chance to speak to Swain because she drives off without seeing her. She's at the station later ordering Kit about, and this is when Carla turns up and hands over the pass. Now, we'd seen the tail end of this scene on Monday's episode, hadn't we? Because Carla had been flaunting out of the police station when...
Flaunting out?
Is that the
Flouncing.
word? Flouncing. That's it. I should doing something. When Bethany turns up to have a go at Craigie.
Yeah.
But what we get to see on Tuesday is the whole scene. And that was the kind of thing that I enjoyed about this format.
This is what I wanted more of. But
yeah, like...
It kind of collapsed by Thursday.
Some of it was, I wonder what's happening there, and then we saw it, and then... This is the one that was like, I hadn't even realised
that I was going to see that.
I was going to see the rest of the scene, but I suppose it made sense. She hands over the pass and like, any news on the case? Any other suspects? And Swain's like, hang on a minute, suspects. Bobby said that he saw one man, and now you're saying that there might be more than one suspect. Do you not believe your own nephew's statement? It's a little bit harsh.
That was weird.
Little bit harsh, little bit pernickety there, Swain, because even though Bobby might have only seen one person, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the only person involved. Anyway, Carla's like, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. They have a bit of a heated debate about Roy, and Carla says, well, you know what, maybe you're not even up to working this case at the moment, what with your troubled family life and all.
Can't believe you would
Swain
even bring
does
that
not
up.
like this accusation.
No, shut up.
This is where Carla flounces off as Bethany and Sarah come in. So back at the cafe, we get to see a little scene of Ruby telling Hope, what did you see? Oh, we didn't say that on part of Monday's episode, but there had been a scene earlier on Mondays where Ruby and Hope had been sitting at the table in the cafe, and Ruby saying, oh, you need to hand it over. So that's what got my brain ticking.
Ruby, you're such a boring square.
It's true. She's a good girl. She did it in the end, didn't she? She was persuasive enough. So anyway, we get to see what it actually was, and Hope showing her the necklace. She kind of undangles it, and we instantly recognise this as Lauren's necklace, the one that Dee Dee has been tracking down, and Hope uncovered it from this car.
If only Dee Dee had gone in Joel's car.
Yeah, it does make me wonder, like... I'm still very confused about, why... I'm confused about many things.
Okay.
One, why did Joel swipe the necklace in the first place? Surely that's going to be revealed, because at the moment we see him on the flashback taking it, but why? He didn't take anything else. Is it like, I'll have this back, thank you very much?
Because of the receipt, I think.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
That's the only reason. It must have been that thing that he bought. Yeah,
you're right, because... at this stage, he didn't know that Dee Dee was onto it because Roy hadn't been having his visions.
He's smart enough to know, I need to remove... You don't know what else he took out of there. He could have taken other things, but the only thing we saw was the necklace.
Okay.
He's smart enough to know, I bought this thing. He probably used his card. It's linked to him. If they find that necklace, they can track it to him. So he takes that necklace with him, and probably what he's done is put it somewhere or put it in his pocket, and it's fallen out, and he might not even know that it's fallen out, but it went under a seat or something, and that's how Hope has found it, because otherwise it would have been discovered before. And the reason that, that's why the car wash comes in, because, when you're detailing a car, you go in all the nooks and crannies. But I'm going to say, I didn't pin Hope for a particularly meticulous cleaner.
No, well, she does like to erase all evidence of her own misdoings. So, I hope that there's more to this, because that maybe makes sense about why he swiped it, but he should have been, and I would believe would have been, a little bit more careful in finding this necklace. If he took it...
In finding this necklace?
Yeah, that he lost. Hiding. If it dropped out of his pocket, like you said, surely he would have
noticed.
where did I go? Oh, I went into my car with it. He would have been combing the place for this necklace that would have potentially linked him to this murder.
Well, yeah, if you take the time to take it out of the crime scene, but then you just lose it and don't care.
Yeah.
Those two things don't really make sense together.
But if he's put it in the car purposefully, and even though he knows that Dee Dee is going to be travelling in that car in the passenger seat quite a lot, and it was under the passenger seat, I think, that Hope said she found it, or was it in the glove box? I don't remember. But that to me doesn't make sense why that was there. Yes, it was a little bit of a clue that tied everything together on Thursday, but I still need a little bit more explanation about what was going on with that necklace.
You will probably never get it.
I don't know.
No, remember how many red herrings and clues that went by the wayside in Uncle Stephen and Pat Phelan's.
Is this like the hairpin? Not the hairpin, the tie pin. Sorry, all over again.
Well, no, because the tie pin was sorted out in the end. Because it went down the drain.
It was sorted out, but it was just thrown. It was a big mystery for a few episodes. I was like, all right, you don't need to worry about that anymore.
Don't worry about that.
Anyway, Ruby's saying to Hope, look, you need to tell Dad about this, or I will. But, Tyrone's not in this week, so what can you do? Swain turns up to see Carla later on that episode, and she says, look, right, got to take... Lauren's case is going to be listed for trial, which I guess means it's going to go to trial.
Oh, don't use technical jargon on me, Swain.
I'm only a podcaster. They talk about Roy for a bit. And then Swain's called away on a phone call. So she's on the phone to her daughter again. It's Betsy on the phone again, getting stressed out. She's saying, Betsy, you're being selfish. During the house clear out, look, we need to talk about this properly.
And she just starts crying.
She has a bit of a cry, yeah. And this is when Carla walks past and gets in Swain's car next to her. And then we get the exposition dump about everything in Swain's backstory. And we find out that she's having a hard time with this Betsy. She wants to stay put in their old place. Swain wants to move on. Turns out that Swain's partner died, a couple of years ago, was it? 2.5 years ago. And she's still grieving about it. Betsy's still grieving about it. And Carla had assumed, as you maybe would, that it was related to a divorce and a man. But oh no. No.
I'm sorry about your arsehole husband that you had to divorce.
It's a lady.
No, it's a lady and she died.
Yeah.
I feel dreadful now. I'm sorry.
Bex was her name. And she's like, I can't cope with this. And Carla says, I'm sure you're doing your best, love. Swain says, my Betsy, she's just getting drunk. She's wagging school. But she's also... hint, hint, applying for a fashion design course.
Carla
said,
what? An unreliable, flaky, drunken fashion designer?
I love it. That's just what we need at Underworld.
Sign up for my company, please.
Yeah. Carla takes the opportunity to grief share with her and says, well, I remember somebody who died a while back.
That's called being a grief thief.
She was an utter grief thief.
I
was
know.
there until she named Liam.
I know, she literally goes, I had someone I've lost too. And I was like... Who? Which one?
Get
Which
out
one?
the list. Aidan, Johnny,
she definitely
Paul.
said lost. Like, a loved one I've lost. It could have been anybody.
I lost my dad down the drain. Tried to fish him out with a hook, but it's too late.
Do you remember the big sinkhole of October?
Yeah, October 2020,
whenever it was.
2021.
The big pandemic sinkhole.
Anyway, Carla says, look, you never really get over it. You just learn to live around with it eventually. And so I was like, oh, thanks, love. I promise this isn't affecting my job like you said. It was...
Whatever.
A really nice scene. I thought that Vicky Myers, it goes without saying, Ali King is superb. Vicky Myers really showed a different side to her than usual, because we're used to her, or to Swain, that is, being this really...
Ice queen.
Exactly, but it was nice to see that she does have a heart. She's got these issues at home. She's just like the rest of us. She's one of us. Maybe it was a little bit unprofessional letting Carla, who is kind of related to the case that she's working on, see this side of her, but... obviously, for what we're supposed to be getting out of this is the beginning of the #Swala romance that appears to be blossoming. And that seems to be getting lots of people excited. But I think even at the end of the week, there was like a little bit of a lingering look from Swain to Carla, wasn't there?
Well, she definitely gave a kind of like...
Yeah.
kind of a...
Maybe. Maybe I was making a mistake with Peter and Liam and everyone all along.
Wow. I'm just saying, lucky Peter's got another girl lined up.
Yeah, because so's Carla. Anyway, Swain goes and sees Roy in the prison later, and she's like, well, what did you and Carla fall out about, eh? Because she'd been speaking to Carla, obviously in the car earlier, and said, why are you being a bit twitchy when I mentioned Roy? And have you fallen out? She's saying to Roy. Is it to do with Bobby's statement, perhaps? I need the truth, Roy. Now, we don't get to see on Tuesday's episode what Roy says,
what the truth is.
So we were left kind of a bit unsure when this carries on back in the street later, because it doesn't happen yet, does it? I'll get to that in a minute. What we do get to see is Kit with Sarah. We visit the scene outside of Nathan's work, don't we? And this is when Sarah goes off. Kit tries to phone up Swain and saying, why can't I get hold of you when you call me back? And then that scene continues a little bit. And he pulls up next to Nathan again and says, a member of the public says that they've seen you taking drugs, or seen somebody taking drugs in the back of the van. Let me go and investigate, please. And Nathan's like, for heaven's bloody sake, this is harassment. And I feel really bad for Nathan at this time.
You can't say
I know
that.
He's a nonce, but he's being accused of things that, as far as I know at the moment, although we do have our suspicions that he may be working in cahoots with Joel, maybe. Do we think that? Oh, no, we don't think that now.
No.
We think the Kit, maybe. I forget who I'd really like there to be a reveal that there is a pair up between them, because obviously the big reveal this week was that it was Joel. But if we later find out it was Joel and X, they're like, ooh, double twist.
You kind of interrupted yourself.
Anyway, yeah, so Nathan's
You're saying you feel bad for Nathan because at the moment...
Yeah, he's being accused.
You don't think that he did it.
He's being... Yeah, exactly.
But
I don't
at the
think
moment,
that he's...
We're supposed to kind of think that he might have done.
Yes, I suppose so, if we were...
We're not supposed to be like, oh no, poor Nathan. He can't have done anything wrong.
No. We as viewers were thinking, by this point, it's definitely Joel, isn't it? It's got to be Joel. But we were supposed to be thinking, ooh, maybe it is Nathan. Anyway, so...
No, I just want to be clear here. I was thinking, I hope it's Joel. I really hope it's Joel. I wasn't thinking I know it is, for sure.
I was pretty 100% convinced
it
was Joel.
Unless I've read it somewhere, I'm not going, oh, I know this.
I just thought it made too much sense. And
yeah,
this was the final bit of misdirection before the big reveal.
In the Nathan, when just to cut ahead slightly, on Thursday's episode, when Nathan and Joel and Kit and Swain are in the interview room, and then we get to the memory of Lauren being murdered, and it's obviously Joel that's remembering it, and you're supposed to think it's Nathan. For like a second, I was like, "Oh no, they have done it where it is Nathan," and that sucks. That sucks.
Why were you hoping it was Joel so much and not
because
Nathan?
it is a good twist.
A twist that
and it's like
guessed.
What the evil child rapist groomer is also a killer. That's not exciting. That's like, this is the thing. Man, like, dog bites man, that's not... Well, it is kind of a headline these days, because normally the dog kills you. But that's not a headline. Man bites dog is. Like, groomer kills girl. Yeah. Uptight lawyer kills girl.
Uptight?
Upstanding. I'm going to buy that paper. I'm going to read that. That's more interesting than criminal does criminal thing.
I think it gives more opportunities for the plot to go in more interesting ways. And also, with it being Joel.
If it was Nathan, it's like, well, they got him, haven't they? He's been interviewed.
They got him. They've got.
He's nasty, and
his
now
USB sticks.
And now all the problems are solved. Although on Friday, again, I will say we still had head vampire syndrome, where almost everything was like, it's all back to normal now because. The magic spell, the head vampire's been killed, all of his minions have been vanquished, everything's gone back to how it was before. That's almost what it was like.
So Kit gets let into the back of Nathan's van, And he investigates the whole van, doesn't he? And this is when he finds this jiffy bag of USB drives in the glove compartment. And he's like, oh, possession of these is prohibited under your release condition. I can't remember what he called it. But basically, it was a sexual...
Well, you're not allowed to have any...
prevention order.
Prevention?
He calls it something. Oh. It's basically, you're not...
Don't be looking at stuff. You're not allowed to go on the internet.
Yeah, like, I want to know what the other conditions were. Like, not being allowed USB sticks, to me, seems a bit of an outdated condition. Or maybe this is the... is he not allowed to have 3.5-inch floppy disks as well, just in case
the judge
he's
is like, make sure he knows no floppy disks, because I saw a boob on one of those once.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, I suppose...
He's not allowed to go in the woods and look for porn either.
Yeah. You're not allowed to go in 250 metres of a woods. Well, maybe that's where Lauren is at the moment.
Probably.
So anyway, it does look, I suppose, slightly dodgy that, finding anybody with one USB stick in 2024 is slightly suspicious, but to have a whole bag of them, I think we're going to bring you into that, actually. And Nathan's like, they're not mine, baby. They're not my bag. I don't know anything about these. And at the moment, I've kind of... The later episodes in the week don't really delve too much into the drives, do they?
I imagine that there is something here that we're being very innocent about, and that maybe this is what they do, because some of it's probably illegal. You're not going to send somebody an email going, hey, look at this attachment, like you would do if it was deepfake porn of Abby Franklin, for example, or Abby Webster. But you know what I mean? I think that probably this is how you would... that you can swapsies them. I bet they have little meetings in the car park when they will swapsies their USB
But as far as we know at the moment, it hasn't been, and unless I'm forgetting something, it hasn't been categorically confirmed that these are Nathan's sticks, have it? Because he's been very insistent that they're not his, and because he's being insistent,
lying.
Yeah, but he's being insistent. Everything else he's being insistent about is the truth.
What are you trying to say?
No, I'm just saying. Are we going to get more flashbacks that, more people has somebody planted this USB sticks on Nathan?
He's a dodgy bloke and he's been up to stuff. We already know that because we know that he was talking on the Ovid's account. And that I'm surprised that hasn't come out. And Bethany's forgotten that even happened because
that got mentioned this week.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that then.
Yeah.
But basically, that's another bit of the evidence. So the fact that he's got USB sticks does not surprise me, and I don't think they were planted.
I'm just kind of saying that there are still bits of this mystery that I think we're going to flash back to.
What's the mystery?
It's just what else has Joel been doing? Because
it's nothing to do with Joel. I think you need to get rid of that idea. Nathan is a dodgy git, and he's got dodgy things, and I don't think he's anything to do with anybody else. I just think he's a pervert and he's got connections, and this is where that's come from. And that is why they brought him in the first place, and that's why they could search his van.
Yeah, so this is the reason why at the end of Monday's episode he gets hauled in by the police, because they found these dodgy sticks.
Well, that's the reason that Kit can then search his van. Because the thing that Sarah didn't understand is that unless they give a reason, they can't just go looking in his van. They would never have found that hair unless they had a reason to search his van.
Yeah.
But then I can't remember how Kit managed to... No, he did start snooping about for no reason, did he? Yeah. Didn't he? That's how he found the USB sticks.
It does make... But...
I'm sure if Joel was actually trying to be a good lawyer, he could get him out of this.
Kit didn't plant the sticks as well, did he?
No, I mean, you're saying that Kit's like so dodgy that he just carries child pornography around with him.
He just got it from the evidence room.
Just throw it at somebody. Oh, look what you've got. I'll arrest you.
Anyway. So back to Swala, and Swain's in the flat saying, I believe that Bobby's made a false statement.
And she bloody arrested him.
She bloody well good old Swain for arresting Bobby. Although by the end of the week he's been let off with it. He's literally... because this was again another mystery for Tuesday. Carla saying, what's Roy told you? Has Roy told you that it was a false alibi? And Swain doesn't confirm one way or another in this episode, does she? So we're left thinking, what has Roy told her? We find out on Wednesday, yes, he did say that. But anyway, Bobby gets arrested, and by the end of the week he's just told, well, don't do it again.
This is what I mean about head vampire syndrome. there were so many things. By the end of the week, they were like, "Oh yeah, no, we decided not to worry about that."
Throw away the keys, Swain. Come on. Anyway, meanwhile,
Swain's like, "Yeah, we decided not to charge him because being annoying apparently it's not a crime."
Sad. Meanwhile, Kit is still kind of having a bit of a lurk around the van. This is when we later find out that he planted the hair there, and he's on the phone to the station saying that he's collared Nathan. Bobby's being questioned about the statement later. He takes a tip from Nathan and just tries to no comment his way through the interview. And Swain comes out to Carla later and says, "We're releasing Bobby."
She already came out earlier when she said she had a girlfriend.
Thank you. She correctly deduced exactly what happened about Bobby lying to the police and Carla having to go along with it. And Carla says, No, it's not true. It's not. I didn't. Honestly, you just want a medal for your work. And Swain says, "I don't care about medals. I don't care about..." What was it? Police statistics.
I don't care about solving crimes.
No, she cares about that, but just not the accolade. She's very humble, is our Lisa.
I wouldn't care if I'd never solved a single crime again.
What she cares about is her dear, dead partner.
I care about my dead partner, my annoying daughter,
Bex the ex.
And your beautiful shoes. That's why I'm really hanging around you, Carla. I want to know where you got those platform trainers from. Because I thought they stopped selling them in 1998.
So we get to find out a little bit more about Swain and her tragic loss of Bex, who was a Bobby.
Oh,
you
yeah,
got
she was
confused
a Bobby.
on this scene,
Yeah.
didn't
I was
you? You were
like...
only half listening. You say, her partner was Bobby.
No, I said... Yeah, I was like, what does she mean her partner's Bobby? Like, I thought she meant my partner was like Bobby. She would make things up to try to help people. And then she said...
And a bit annoying.
And then she said, one lie too many, and somebody shot her in the face for being annoying. So I'm just telling you, watch out for Bobby.
So Bex was a police constable.
Right.
Typically on the day she died, they'd had an argument about how Swain had...
left her shoes in the hallway.
Was responding to a case, and then it turned out that she was right, and Bobby got killed on the day.
No, her name's not Bobby.
Not Bobby, sorry. Bex got killed on the day, and because my pride got in the way, la 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 la. So she blames herself. The last time she saw her partner, there were crosswords. And because Swain was being too insistent that her opinion on the case was right, but it turned out it wasn't.
Swain and Bex were arguing, or Lisa and Bex were arguing, like, can you jump fast enough out of the way of a bullet for it not to kill you? And Bex was like, that's ridiculous. And Lisa was like, I bet you can. And then later on that day, Bex had an opportunity to prove she was right once and for all, and that Lisa was wrong. And just like any good girlfriend would do, she's like, I'm not going to let this opportunity pass me by to let my partner know they're completely wrong. Jumps in front of the bullet, not fast enough, dies, and then Lisa now for the rest of her life has to live with the fact that she thought she could out-jump a bullet.
And her last words were, "Tell Lisa I told her so."
How insensitive.
Tragic, that is so insensitive of us. Sorry, Lisa.
I wonder if she died on a case undercover with Spider, and that's where Spider's going to come back.
I might have even said what it was, and I just didn't remember it or write it down.
It was probably something really dull, like she got a paper cut from an accountancy problem, and it gave her sepsis.
I have seen people going back 2.5 years online on what was Swain up to then, because I think she was in the show then.
Oh, really?
I don't think they really came up with anything. I don't think it was going to be a case that we've seen her investigate. I'm kind of interested to know, going forward with the podcast, when do we start to call her Lisa by default? Because even in some of the synopses that ITV have been releasing, she's called Lisa.
I just called her Lisa then because I thought it would be weird to have Swain and Bex.
But we call Kit, don't we? He's not DC Green to us.
No. But maybe, I mean, they were girlfriends, weren't they? They weren't married. Because it could have been Swain and Swain then, couldn't it? You don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that if she does get into a couple with Carla, it'd just be weird to call her one by the surname. Although we suppose we did with Pat and Phelan and Eileen, didn't we? It was never Pat and Eileen, it was always Phelan and Eileen.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Swallow, when I saw people were coming up with Swallow, I was like, can we do better than that? I don't know. Lara. No, not really. I was the same as you. Like, I don't want it to be surname and first name, but
Don't mind.
We don't know what Carla's now Connor again, isn't she?
Yes,
she's definitely not
she's
Carla
gone back to
Barlow
Connor
anymore.
No.
So can we have
all is right with the world?
Swanner?
Anyway.
No? You're not going for that?
We've all been going
I think
on
Swan.
it. I can't believe we're only on bloody Tuesday with us. So Swain says, look, I just want to make the world a safer place for me daughter, and I'm going to keep on investing this case because you're convinced that the perp wasn't Roy, and because of that, I can't let it drop. I need to find out what happened to Lauren, and I want someone to pay for it. Now, take bloody Bobby home and tell him to stop lying to the police again and wasting our time.
I don't understand why she's so... Like, just because Carla thinks it wasn't Roy doesn't mean it wasn't Roy.
Well, but Swain trusts
Yeah, but I know,
her,
but listen, I love you like nobody else in the world. I love you so much. But
Abby's the one.
There are loads of things that you're convinced of that are absolute rubbish, and I would not back you up on it at all.
Thanks. Okay. Carla has a bit of a moan with Bobby later, and then that's the scene that turns into Bethany coming in and saying, "Hey, everybody, Nathan's been arrested." Meanwhile, over at prison, Roy hears a sound at his cell door, and he's like, "Hello," and Griff walks in. The book and the cup at this point are already on the floor.
What's happened?
So we're like, ooh, what's going on there? And Griff's just kind of looking a bit moody and well-hard.
And a bit racist.
A little bit racist.
Yeah.
So that then takes us into Wednesday, the last of our flashback days. And this was Dee Dee and... is it Dee Dee and Roy, I suppose, were the main people in this one.
That's right, yeah. So so this is now Wednesday. This was... So Mondays was Snorefest. Tuesdays was like solid.
Tuesday was really good, and I think it was everything. The Swain.
Now we're getting somewhere with this.
Yeah.
Now I know where you're going.
Wednesday, on the whole, I'll tell you now. Although I was very much invested in the different perspectives. By the end of Wednesday, I was thinking, it's not really told us anything that we didn't know.
No, Wednesday didn't really progress much.
There was more stuff because there was an awful lot more Roy, but there wasn't anything there that I didn't feel like I.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We got the reveal that he did indeed tell Swain Bobby made this thing up, but it was starting to it was starting to feel like
a bit janky.
Can they really keep this up for another 2 days? And
so,
they didn't.
Wednesday was Dee Dee and Roy Day. We get speed reverse at the beginning, and then we get Roy. This is what Dee Dee was talking on the phone about. So she's walking along the street, past everybody doing the car wash, and the person she's on the phone to that you were trying to work out is Roy. And Roy's telling her, oh, Lauren got flowers on Valentine's Day. Now, this might be something that dislodges Dee Dee's memory. Because Dee Dee got the same flowers from Joel.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's what we were saying.
Different flowers, same
box.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be something that helps her put everything together.
I think that her discovery of Joel is still a long way in the future.
I think so too. So
they're going to make this one run.
Roy's saying to Dee Dee, why don't you check the flowers that she got on Valentine's Day? That would be from the secret boyfriend, who I think is the killer. And Dee Dee says, we already checked that the person paid with a voucher, which I think sounds like a load of rubbish. How'd they buy the voucher? Anyway, it's a dead end. She says, look, trust me, I'm going to chase this linguistics expert, and your case has been listed for trial, which is what we say now. But don't worry, it's going to be fine, because we've got Bobby's statement. Roy puts down the phone, and then Roscoe comes in, his new special friend sent from Stu to help him adjust to life as a crim. And he's got his hand is in a bandage, and he says, oh yeah, I've just fell over. And Roy says, I'm worried that my solicitor's got very flimsy evidence, and I don't like the idea of being freed on false evidence because that's not justice, and I just want to give him a bit of a tap.
Roscoe as well was saying, oh look, if you're out, you're out.
Exactly. I want to know what he's in for. That's what I want to know. What did Roscoe do?
Yeah.
Dee Dee, Nina and Asha are in the shop, and Dee Dee's trying to reassure them that everything's fine, we've got some good evidence, and this text message thing, the linguistics thing, that's going to work really well.
Yeah, Wednesday was basically Dee Dee's evidence completely falling apart, wasn't it?
Little does she know that her boyfriend Joel is also very good at grammar.
Sorry, I just wobbled the microphone there.
At grammar.
He is very good at grammar, yes.
So that's going to be something for me. If I was Dee Dee, found out Joel is the killer, I would still be proud of him for putting the semicolons in the correct
But they
place.
talk about, they put semicolons in text messages and everything's spelled completely right. And I was just listening to this thinking, you're just describing my text messages. Although I am a bit of I do have a penchant for the emoji, don't I? And I don't think Roy is going to be an emoji user.
I also don't think Joel does either. I can't see him being like, I'm going to come round and kill you later. Wink.
But yeah, I will punctuate my text messages 100%.
The only thing I really do wrong is I don't put full stop on the end of a sentence because I feel it feels a bit
don't you?
Rude.
I think noticed that.
And I've read online that this is this is quite a common thing apparently, that people don't put full stops on the end because they feel that it looks abrupt.
Well, I think it looks grammatically incorrect, so I know what I'd rather be.
Well, you haven't noticed, have you? You obviously haven't noticed.
Clearly not.
Right, so like I said,
that evidence falls apart pretty quickly, doesn't it?
Well, she then phones him up and tells Dee Dee phones Roy up and says, look, this evidence actually doesn't work out because you've only sent like 5 texts.
No, it was like 40 something, wasn't it, over the past
46.
8 months.
It's like there's not enough to draw any real statistical analysis out of it.
I thought, is that realistic? I don't care. That's hilarious for Roy.
That is quite funny.
That he's only sent a handful. She's like, I send that many a day.
Yeah, I know. And she says that this isn't good news, but we still got Bobby's testament. Testament?
The testament of Bobby.
It's got loads of stuff for some reason about turning down thermostats. Roy's annoyed because he knows that this is rubbish.
Yeah.
So he goes back to his cell, and Roscoe's like, "Oh, can you tell me how it was with your solicitor?" And he says, "I just want to be on my own."
He knows now that the linguistics evidence is shot to pieces, and the only thing that's left is this
Bobby,
false piece
fake.
of evidence.
Yeah. So Then we get to see Griff and Roscoe together. And Griff has clearly got Roscoe in his thrall because he's got something on him. He knows where his granddaughter lives, and he's threatening his mates are going to beat her up or something.
Yeah. So, how did you find that little revealette?
That definitely makes sense for like Griff's MO. Like, he can't fight. Wouldn't be able to take Roscoe in a fight.
No, well, this is like what my conjurer was saying to me earlier. He's certainly more the manipulative type. We said from the beginning we don't trust Roscoe, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then after
nice.
And then after that, it was maybe he is just a good sort. I was convinced that Roscoe was going to be the one that was going to save Roy in this inevitable attack that Griff was going to have on him.
I think that would have been better, honestly. I know that you're supposed to be like empowered. Like, it was more empowering for Roy to rescue himself, but he didn't really. You know, the character's supposed to sort of get themselves out of the predicament, and because that's more empowering than just being rescued. But he didn't rescue himself because he was on the phone and Griff's like, sorry, I'll wait for you to finish your phone call before I kill you. No, I mean, I think it would have worked as Roy rescuing himself in a sense that his bond that he made with Roscoe, because he's such a good-hearted man, if Roscoe had then rescued him, that still would have been Roy having a hand in it, because he wouldn't have done it if he wasn't so, so bonded with Roy. And I just does that make sense?
I just didn't like the fact that by the end of the week Roscoe was just a baddie, because he was starting to look on Thursday. He wasn't a baddie.
He was just a guy who was put in a situation where he didn't have any choice.
I would have liked him to have redeemed himself.
Yeah, I wanted more out of Roscoe. I thought he was a good bloke. I mean, maybe he'll make friends with Nathan. We'll get to see more of him there. Right, so Griff has roughed him up though in some manner, because that's why Roscoe's got a bad hand. And he's saying, look, you've got to let me get to Roy so I can find out what he's done to Lauren or punish him.
He just wants to get into Roy's cell.
Yeah. So Griff is convinced, as almost everybody else is, that Roy did kill Lauren, and because of Lauren's link to his group, because it was his mate's daughter, he wants to get revenge. And he also doesn't like the fact that it basically he calls him a pedo, you know.
Yeah.
So, Roy is then talking to Swain in the scene that we saw the day before.
And I don't know why Griff didn't take this opportunity to go into Roy's cell.
There were lots of points where he could have...
He could have just walked in while Roy was in there.
That's what I thought. The
whole get him out to the library so that I can sneak in felt a bit like unnecessary padding for the story.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've said this to you off air, a lot of the Roy stuff this week wasn't the most exciting part of the week to me. I really am mad because this had the makings of a really tense and great story, but it felt like it was rushed. I mean, Griff coming back and trying to kill Roy, that sounds amazing, but it just got swallowed up with everything else. And by the time it happened on Thursday, I was like, I don't care about this. I want to see. They didn't give it enough time. And you're right, by the time Thursday came along, I was just like, no, I need to know about the necklace. What's going on there? Is it Joel? Show me that it's Joel.
But I think I'm just going to also say that I don't know what other people thought, because I think quite a lot of people really were much more invested in Roy's story than we were.
But I don't think that many people could have been watching it thinking, oh, I hope Roy's going to be okay. There was not a shred of doubt in my mind. Roy was 100% going to be absolutely fine after this encounter with Griff. So whatever was going to happen there, the only tension for me was... is Griff going to end up injured? Is Roscoe going to jump in and try
You're just like, I'm just worried about the criminals.
Well, no, if Roy inadvertently knocks the knife into Griff, is he going to then blame himself for Griff's death?
Could he have killed... That would have been a really good twist.
Or if Roscoe had come in, tried to save him, Roscoe ends up dead on the floor. But as it turned out to be in the end, there was, the scuffle, which was, fairly exciting... For the 30 odd seconds that it lasted on screen, but that was it.
Yeah, it felt rushed.
But by the time we got to that part of the week, like you said, I was more interested in what was going outside the prison. Of course, they had to have something go on with Roy because he's the one in prison. So they engineered. Obviously great that they brought Griff back into it. I love the fact that Griff was in it. Really like that.
That's brilliant.
But it felt just a little bit like, what are we going to have Roy do while all the exciting stuff's going to go on? Have him attacked? Yeah, okay.
I don't understand why we had to have that happen on Thursday when we had Friday could have been Roy.
Yeah.
Why could we have had two climaxes of this week instead of everything happening on Thursday and then Friday was just kind of like,
Yeah, well, there's always the way on these BGT weeks.
But it didn't
Fridays
have to be that way. But
down.
Why though? That's what I don't get. Why is Friday like, oh, everything's back to normal? Because...
Just let us catch our breath for the weekend.
I would imagine if we had ended Friday's episode with the final scene of Thursday with Joel, I would have lost my mind. I wouldn't have been able to sit down all weekend because I was so excited. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead.
But yeah, if they'd have given more time to Griff and Roy's...
They really, really should have paced it differently. I think they could have taken Friday just for Roy.
Mm. But Thursday was the Roy episode, and we were totally skipping ahead here.
But separate them out.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be the same episode because it... Anyway, right, I'm going to carry on.
Otherwise we're never going to get there.
So Roy and Swain, are talking, and she's like, I want the truth. Have Carla and Bobby lied? And then he starts going on about the justice system, and I don't believe in God or natural justice, so I want the legal system to do its job, so I have to play my part. And so I must tell you that Bobby didn't see anybody he made out. And she starts asking all these questions. He's like, literally all I know is that he lied.
See, I'm kind of glad he did this.
Well, it's totally within his character.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't remember the last time he lied to the police about something that he saw was during the sinkhole debacle, and he lied about Nina. Was it Nina?
Abby. Wasn't it to do with a gun?
Oh, yeah, it was. It was to do with a gun.
And
that ate him up inside. And he's like, he was so guilty about that he went to South America for all of 3 or 4 weeks, however long it was. He's like, I don't want to go there again, so I'm just going to tell you the truth. You got me.
The fact that he held on to this for so long was not in character for him. Anyway.
And when Griff's got him on Thursday, he talks about dying an honest man, which is why he doesn't confess to killing Lauren when he actually had no idea about her.
Right, so Swain huffs off and he's like, what are you going to do? And she's like, my job. And he says, look, I beg you.
Sorry, I'm coughing still.
Can you take any medicine?
I can't remember when I took some last.
Right, okay, so...
some water, lovely water.
So he says, think very hard about your next move. No, he says, please think very hard about what you're going to do. And then he thinks, oh no, I've lost a friend.
Yeah, about Carla.
Well, okay.
He's like, I've got this off my chest, but it might be kind of convenient if you didn't do anything about it.
What's Swain going to do? Okay, right, between you and me then. Okay, I know what you mean. Right, so Dee Dee goes to the car wash and Joel's there. And Glenda calls Sam over to help. That's why he ends up being soapy. She sees Bobby being taken away by the police, and then she storms after Carla, Dee Dee does, and says, please tell me this is not about his witness statement. Uh-oh. And then Joel says, does this mean what I think it does?
So this, to me, was a good example of what I was talking about on Wednesday, feeling a little bit fillery. This was really just seeing stuff that we'd already seen before. I mean, we hadn't seen him beginning carted off into the police car, but we had seen Swain going up to arrest him. What this added was Dee Dee realising that the one final piece of evidence that she thought she had was completely disintegrating. But I suppose it did also bring Joel into the mix, because he'd not been in it up to this point.
And Joel's like,
And as soon as we saw him there by the car wash, I was like, that's definitely his car. I'd said it already, but that's 100% his car.
Well, it doesn't,
It's not revealed there. But
Joel's like, does this mean what I think it does? Because he obviously really wants Roy to be still in prison for killing Lauren.
Yeah.
Back in his cell, Roy gets a knock and it's Roscoe, and he comes in with a cup of tea. And I'm just wondering if there's something we miss, personally, not being felons, about prison that means that... I mean, they did make a big deal about the fact that Roy never leaves his room. And so I guess that's why Griff was pressuring Roscoe, because although Roy did leave to go to speak to the police, there's no way anyone could have predicted that.
No.
So... Although, why did Griff then not capitalise on it? He didn't know. Maybe, I don't know. But
he just wasn't watching Royce.
Roscoe did tell him that the police are coming to talk to him, so he could have then run off to Griff and told him. So, Roscoe's a bit of a crap sidekick, isn't he?
Crap goon.
Yeah. So, this cup of tea we know is the tea that ends up on the floor, I think.
Yeah.
Nina goes to speak to Dee Dee, and he's getting fed up that there's no evidence. And this is when, again, everyone takes the crap on Dee Dee Day. I feel so sorry for Dee Dee. She gets treated like crap so often by... Carla's done it, Nina's done it. People are always telling her she's rubbish, but they come calling to her for help all the time. If she's so crap, then why don't they get a different lawyer? That's just what I would say to them. Everyone's so ungrateful to Dee Dee. And nobody does this to Adam. And you never see scenes of Adam going, oh, am I really a bad lawyer? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Adam doesn't have a Rising Star Award, does he?
No, he doesn't. Right. No, you're right. He hasn't got that star at his best.
So, she's getting fed up. You haven't got any evidence. Shouldn't have hired you. Storms off. Joel comes in, gives her a hug. And he's like, sometimes it's just the way the cookie crumbles. And she's like, how dare you say I'm not a great lawyer? Look at my
trophy.
Look upon my trophy and weep. And she sends him off with his flea in his ear. So, in the cell, Roscoe tries to encourage Roy to go to the library. He's like, please come to the library with me, Roy. And Roy says no, because we know this is what Griff needs him to do so he can sneak into the room. And he said he's got to do it by 3. And he's like, I've got to read this book anyway. I don't need another book. I've got to read this book because one of my bestest friends in the whole world gave it to me and I've only got one left. And Roscoe says, oh, let me look at that book. And then he just throws it on the floor with the tea. And he's like...
That's the scene, yes, isn't it, from the beginning of the week. So we'd all been led to believe that this teacup and the book dropping on the floor had been, as part of the fracas between the inevitable Roy and Griff confrontation.
Some kind of
it turned out...
John Woo shootout with doves flying in slow motion and stuff.
In a way, I kind of like that twist. But also, if to look back on the first episodes, it's like, oh, it was just nothing.
Yeah, it's just somebody dropped their cup.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
What I did like was that Roy noticed that Roscoe was doing that.
Roy's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm such a clumsy Nelly. And Roy's like, no, you did that on purpose. What did you do that for? And Roscoe's like, oh, I can't read. I thought you could help me. I can't read. And Roy's like, I don't know, what are you talking about?
Says, I don't like being deceived.
Well, this definitely not a good cover for throwing his cup on the floor.
No.
Because then he has to kind of pedal really furiously.
Yeah,
to try to get him. So he leaves then, but Roy follows him and says, "Look, it's very difficult for you to admit that you are a big old Tim. So let's go to the library and you can pick a book out." And then he comes out with the Railway Children, which I
can't read, but here's something that's suitable for 10, 11-year-olds.
And what Roscoe, can you read or can you not read well? Because I think that's what it turns out to be in the end. And then he just goes, and then he's like, "Roscoe, go read your book." Well, I told you I can't, Roy. You're not helping me.
I suppose they didn't have any Biff and chips in the prison library for Roscoe
I
to
bet
go
they
to for
probably
a
do.
starter.
I'm sure that they have programs. This is what Roscoe's lives would lead to: him having to enrol himself on an adult literacy program and pretending to learn to read for the next year.
Just because he didn't wait for half a second longer before he dropped the tea on the floor.
Right. So in the cafe, we get the scene where Nathan's has been arrested and everyone's hearing the good news. So Dee Dee goes to phone him to tell Roy about the good news. Like I said, they pick up the Railway Children, not the actual children, the book. And Roy says, "Come back to my cell and read it." And Roscoe's like, "Oh no, I don't really fancy going to your cell right at the moment. It's after 3, isn't it? No, I don't want to go. I'll go to my cell and read it." And Roy says, "Thank you for being a good friend." And Roscoe says, "No problem." Sorry. And then...
That's the last we saw of Roscoe. And he looked guilty about it. That's why I thought that he was going to turn... That's literally the last we see of Roscoe. He seemed a friendly chap.
I do wonder if there is some scope. Because I think... I would hope that he gave that impression to other people. Otherwise, we're just kind of dodgy, criminal-loving... But everyone
he was a bit of an Eddie Yates for the 2020s, wasn't he?
I can definitely see him pitching up on Corrie,
And it's not like they haven't done it before. Hello, Paul. Hello, Graham.
Yeah. Come back and say, "Look, Roy..." And he knows Stu as well. Pitch up in 6 months' time. "Look, hello, I'm the new lovable scally man." Because we haven't got any anymore since Gary's decided to go on the straight and narrow.
and Roy's going to be a little bit hesitant to...
But last time I saw you were getting me stabbed.
Yeah.
And then he'll be like, "Oh, really sorry about that."
But then they'll make up and
they'll
it'll
make
be
friends.
lovely. Yeah. I hope we get to see Roscoe again.
Honestly, Roscoe seems like a solid bloke.
Yeah.
Apart from all the crime. Right. So Griff comes in, and this, again will out me as an awful person, but he delivers my favourite line of the week.
Oh, hang on a minute. We need to do a... coarse language warning like ITV1 did before Wednesday's episode.
Discriminatory language.
Yeah.
He says, "All right, pedo." And he's got a knife. And I was going to start the episode of this podcast with "All right, pedos," but Michael took me out.
That just reminds me of the Peep Show scene from the episode 1 where all the kids are chasing after Mark.
Yeah. Calling him Clean Shirt as well. All right, Clean Shirt. How'd you get your shirt so clean?
So, finally...
I'm sorry, that was very... naughty.
Finally, we've got Griff going into the cell, and the pacing for this week was mostly okay, but this was the same cliffhanger basically that we got at the end of last week when he was just checking on his knife, and I thought they'd better bloody show this on Thursday, and luckily they did, and this is when all the rewind stopped because they had to show what happened later in the day. This is Thursday. So, straight into the cell action, and Griff's talking to Roy about, I was an animal rights activist once upon a time. I was waiting for the crayfish to get a name check.
No, he was like, "I loved animals, but I hated crayfish."
Yeah, those invading crayfish.
I love animals, but I only like animals when they live in the country they were born. I don't like seeing a zebra in a zoo here.
Exactly.
Because that's taking a job from a horse that was born in this country.
He's talking about them being cooped up just like we are in prison.
And then they do crazy things.
Well, he said, and most people, when they get cooped up in here, usually they've got, photos or the odd cheeky topless photo. You don't get anything, Roy. And it doesn't particularly go too far down the route, but he's asking Roy, are you capable of human emotion? Because he is completely convinced, as, like you said, everyone else was, that Roy's a massive pedo and he's killed
and a killer.
Lauren. Exactly. And he says that, are you human?
Are you human or are you dancer?
He says, you killed this girl. I know his dad. He's utterly miserable.
Yep.
I'm almost surprised. Is Reese in that prison as well?
No, they wouldn't be put together, I don't think.
You reckon? Anyway, but I'm trying to picture the scenes of like Max and Lauren meeting Reese, and I'm sure it's the same. Maybe it's
of course
just
it's always the same set.
The same set. Maybe it's just a common across Weatherfield. This is the visiting room. It's the same architect. Anyway.
But look, he's saying like doesn't know where the body is. He knows she's dead.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying. You know, I was talking to you about that podcast in your own backyard. This is what happened in there. The people who Kristen Smart, she was killed, and they never found the body, but they think they know. Well, the guy was convicted, and it kind of made me.
Reminded you of that.
The emotions that I got when I was listening to that story about this poor family who knew that their daughter was killed by this horrible man, and they couldn't get justice for so long. And I was thinking, you know, although Griff is a villain, his motivations here are completely understandable.
Yeah. Because his mate is grieving.
Because this is the difficult part, isn't it? Because there's no difference between in the way you interact, what you see from somebody who's lying about killing somebody or not killing somebody, and who is innocent. And so your reaction to somebody who's innocent, who you believe is actually a murderer, is going to be vitriolic, because it's worse if you kill someone and then you pretend you didn't and you hide the body and nobody ever finds it. That's worse.
Yeah. And so something else that I don't think we mentioned yet, but I was speaking to Mikey about earlier, is that Griff has still got a bit of a grudge for Roy, because when he was doing that speech in the community centre about the crayfish, Roy was the one that called him out in it, wasn't he? So he was publicly humiliated by this guy. Oh. So he's clearly he's got it out.
And then you see he then justifies himself, like, I was right. This guy who embarrassed me, I knew that he was evil all along because he disagreed with me. But imagine how thrilled you'd be if you found out that somebody who was a git to you actually is a killer, and you can then stab them with like guilt-free.
So he gets out his knife, his lovely glass
How
knife.
How happy would you be?
And says, the other thing with these animals in the cage is that they would often inflict horrific injuries on each other.
Oh, that's horrible.
Cut back to the street, because we're not allowed to give enough time to that little story. Bethany, oh my gosh, this is Craig.
Bethany and Craig, just don't be in this week.
This is Craig walking along eating a burger, and Bethany's like, Craig, you always spill information.
No, I'm not doing it this time, Bethany.
I'm not doing it, Bethany. Honestly,
no, I won't tell you.
I'm off. But he was also saying, I'm off duty, so if you want to know anything, go to the police station. It's almost a tacit way of saying, if I had my uniform on, I'd totally sing like a canary here.
It's like, honestly, I don't want to tell this. I don't want to tell you this, but I'm going to. Right?
And Bethany's like...
The problem is, I can't remember anything, and my notebook's in my uniform.
Yeah.
So if you want to know what happened, you have to wait.
Bethany says, eat your burger if Nathan's arrest was something to do with Lauren, and don't if it's not. And Craig's like, the burger, but I'm so hungry.
He's like, what's that, Mr. Burger?
You want me to eat you?
Just tell her the truth. Right, I'll stop you from... Oh no! By eating him to stop him talking, I've inadvertently told you the truth.
Craig is such a... Oh my gosh.
Well, clearly
it conveys the message to Bethany that she wanted to hear.
I know.
And so she's like, Craig, thank you very much. So he stops himself from saying any more.
Well, he won't say any more.
No, and Sarah kind of looks thoughtful about this because she's there as well, and she dashes off. Back in the cell, back over in Highfield.
So Sarah knows now that this evidence that she was going to plant may have been used.
No.
Yes, she does.
She says it's to do...
He says, we found the dodgy... She says... No, hang on.
Oh, yes, that's right, yes. He says, we found the USB sticks, and also we looked in the back and found, actually, I'd better not say.
Yes.
So Sarah's thinking, what the hell was there in the back? Is this?
And you were confused at this point, and I was saying, Kit's obviously planted this.
Yeah, because turned out you
and
did.
Sarah's like, I've done it again. I've done it again.
Did I plant something and then forget about it?
I'm so stupid. Oh, Sarah, you're such a stupid idiot. You stupid girl.
So, back in the cell, Griff's still putting the pressure on Roy. But basically, he's just kind of...
tell me what happened.
He's just... Yeah,
what did you do? Why did you do it?
I know what Lauren's like. She didn't value her body the way a woman should, so he was so kind to her.
Excuse me, victim blaming Griff. I'll take almost anything but that.
What did she do? He was basically not believing anything that Roy said.
Well, of course, honestly, like I said, there's no difference between somebody who did it saying I didn't do it and somebody who didn't do it saying I didn't do it.
It was flicking too much back and forth between them. Really, I would have really appreciated a long, more developed scene between Griff
and Roy should have had the whole episode.
Yeah, although but the Joel stuff was fun too.
No, but Joel should have had his own episode too.
So Kit sees Sarah outside the station, and he says, because I did get confused about this, because he's like, you know what they found in the van. You put it there. It's Lauren hairs. When you opened up the bag with the scrunchie in,
you put one in there. It fell out.
No, yeah, he's saying he's saying one must have fallen out. So he's now making Sarah feel like she's the one that inadvertently planted the evidence there, even though that she did have a change of heart when the push came to shove when she was there. She's like, bloody hell, sorry about that.
Oh no, if I don't.
And he's like, I don't know if it's Lauren's yet, but we found some hairs. And we're waiting to hear back from the forensics. And if it is, and if they're found out, you could go to prison for planting that evidence, and Nathan's going to get away with murder. So thanks a lot, Sarah Lou.
Just why don't you keep your mouth shut, Sarah?
So...
And she's like, I'm really good at that. There's a murder that no one knows about that I do.
Interview starts. Joel's there as the duty solicitor with Nathan. Next to each other, I was kind of looking at them and saying... Oh, they really could be brothers. They could be brothers, because that was another theory that people have been banding about. Like, is somebody related to someone else? I don't think that can be the case now.
No, it doesn't feel
likely.
Bernie
had another son that she's forgotten about. She really was whacked out on ecstasy at
because Kit's dad is somebody different from Gemma, and then there could be another parent involved. That would mean that if Nathan truly was related to Kit, there would be no reason for them to have ever found that out, because he would have no relation to Paul and Gemma.
Yeah. Anyway. Nathan's caught off guard because he's expecting to be asked about these USB sticks.
They're not his.
Instead, they hone the questions in on Lauren. Sarah, meanwhile, is going around telling Bethany and Daniel, whoops, I've done it again. What am I like? And Griff, meanwhile, is turning up the pressure on Roy, and he's like saying, I can't admit to something I haven't done. Look, I know you're going to kill me, whatever. If I say I bumped off Lauren, you're going to kill me. If I say I didn't, you're going to kill me, and I'd rather die an honest man.
No, he says, you're going to kill me no matter what I say. And Griff says, I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah, you're going to kill yourself.
When he said that and he had the bit of sheet, I was like...
that was a little bit chilled up the spine.
That was great, because I was thinking, Griff has no way of knowing this, but Roy set himself up here because he's been so withdrawn. He's been so distant. He now has spoken. This is why it should have had a longer time to develop. This was such a great plot and it didn't get enough time. The last thing anybody knew was that, officially, is that he spoke to Swain and told her something that would make sense for why he would go back and then do that, because she knows that he's lost the only friend he ever had, and she would know that Roy's told her something about Carla, who he's very close to. So if he turned up dead and it would look like it was him that had done it, it would make sense. So we know, I don't even think that anybody had a time to even think about that, because everything happened so quickly. But if the episode had been separate from the Joel stuff, then we could have had time to really ruminate. And I guess one of the things about it is it's suicide. It's very it's a very triggering subject, and there would be people, you couldn't have it on a cliffhanger like, oh, what's happened? Do they think, is he dead? They couldn't leave it like that, because it would be too triggering for some people. Yeah. And it's also it's a 7:30 start. I'm surprised they even had the suggestion of a noose.
I wonder, would people have believed that Roy had done that? Because he did contemplate suicide back after the whole Tracy bedding him incident, that might have been enough to make him say, "Look, I am not going to do that again." All people, I don't know who knows about that, I can't remember, but if it was brought up, like, had he ever tried it before, and someone said, "Well, actually, yeah, he had," that could have been made it look more obvious like it was him. But then also with everything that happened with Hayley, and he was dead against her taking her own life.
I know, but the thing is, though, it could have been twisted so easily to say, you know, although he was against it, he was against it because he didn't want her to die, not because he was saying, I'm vehemently against suicide. So if he had been found dead, and you know, this is really grim. I'm sorry, but this is what
Corey brought it up. They started it.
If he had been found with the picture, you, like I said, the same with the music. You could infer meaning from the picture.
Yeah, they walk into his cell and the Lark Ascending is playing, and they hang on.
Oh no! But Carla's the only one who knows that's left in the show who knows that is what happened to Hayley, and she would. I mean, this is all moot because this doesn't happen. But it would have been really interesting if Carla had been able to say, "I think he did do it," and the clue is that he's holding this picture because he and Hayley have now both taken themselves from this world when there was nothing left for them in it.
But then equally, you could also say, would Roy do that to Carla? Because he would know that Carla would feel guilty. And the fact that Aidan took his own life, I think that Roy would hopefully think, but I can't have Carla lose someone else really, really close to her.
But the thing about suicide is it's not about anybody but yourself.
Oh, I know.
And that's, you know, that's kind of a misconception about...
Anyway, that's enough of that cheery conversation.
Look what you've made us talk about.
I've lost where we are in the notes now. So, Daniel and Bethany are getting really riled up by Sarah Louise saying, "Yeah, sorry, I might have accidentally planted some evidence, but I did go there with the intention to plant some evidence, but then I changed my mind, so it
doesn't matter. It's like I
stopped myself, and I gave the bag to Kit, and Daniel's like, hang on a minute, and I don't think this has developed any further, is it? He's like, Kit knew that the evidence was planted, but he's staying quiet, so that's a little thread that maybe is going to get revisited. That Daniel has got suspicions about the bentness of this particular copper.
And then Daniel's like, "Do you know what? I'm out of here. My Barlow family knows this, but the Platts can't be trusted. I'm not dealing with you.
I'm out of here." So, interview back in the police station. I was loving this. So Swain's saying, right, when did you meet Lauren online? No comment. Nathan's saying he's definitely been caught on the back foot here. He wasn't expecting the interview to go down this route.
Because he didn't do it.
And also he's caught off guard when Swain tells him that the alibi, his girlfriend at the nail bar, who was supposedly with him the time that Lauren was abducted / killed, she's now said, actually, I wasn't there at all. And they continue to badger him about what were you doing on the day of Lauren's disappearance.
And he's like, let me think.
What made you beat her over the head with a chair leg? And then this is where we have the first flashback of the day. So we're led to believe at this point that this is Nathan remembering Lauren getting kind of what happens. She's has a glove put over her face. She's taken down to the floor.
Falls on the floor.
And the great to see Lauren again, and I thought that Kate was doing it. So from the snippets that we saw, the look in her eyes when she thought that she was about to be beaten over the leg, brilliant.
Over the head
with
a leg.
With a leg, that's it. Beaten over the leg with a head of lettuce, but still at this point I was like, it's Joel. This is a flashback from Joel's point of view, which it turned out to be.
I was thinking
100% the truth.
This better not be Nathan because this is a cop-out. Yeah. But if this is Joel and they're tricking us by making us think that it's Nathan when it actually is Joel, then this is masterful.
It was really clever because you could see both of them in the scene leading up to the flashback.
And they both go...
Our eyes were supposed to be drawn to Nathan and then the flashback, so we think, well, that's Nathan's. But I was just looking at Joel. And like, yeah, it was him.
He's like, I probably shouldn't be daydreaming. Oh no, what if I do that thing where I project my thoughts onto the wall? I better stop.
So Joel says, look, you clearly don't have enough evidence to charge Nathan here. And Swain's like, fine, let's have a break. And And as she's saying to Nathan, I've interviewed hundreds of men like you. I will get the truth out of you
well,
one way or another.
He's trying to intimidate her.
He's being cocky,
He's like,
isn't
get
he?
me a coffee. And she's like, I will get you a coffee, but I'm going to also get you in prison.
Back to the prison. Griff setting up this noose by the window, telling Roy, you got to write a confession.
And Roy's like, I will, but I will not use any semicolons. And everyone's going to know it wasn't me.
Yeah, that'd be the code way of doing
That's
it.
what I would
it?
do. Yeah.
So Roy takes the opportunity to run to the door and start yelling for help. Griff grabs him, holds the knife up to his throat, and I think doesn't Griff at this point start shouting out to the guard outside, help, he's got a knife.
That's
so
right, yeah.
The guards are led to believe that Roy's on the rampage.
See, again,
the alarm goes.
This went nowhere. That was a really fun... That could have been a scene or two. If this was a whole episode about just Roy, that would have been brilliant, because we could have had a cut to the guards outside. We could have had, the friendly guard, and then you had all the SWAT team guards. Them going, that prisoner's got the bearded one, and he's trying to get him, and the guards going, no, he would never do that. I know this guy. He's not violent, but the other man, he definitely. And there would have been confusion and discussion about it.
Yeah.
But no, instead we get like him going, he's doing it to me, and the police are like, nah, I don't think so.
And then we just get more scenes of the other stories to just kill the momentum of that scene.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff happening, but
yes.
I wanted...
It was hard, because sometimes this works. I mean, it probably worked for some people. It didn't work for me. So who's to say what the right... I'm never going to say the way I would suggest is the best way. But sometimes it works to like cut between this and this. But to me, it didn't work in this case. Yeah. I couldn't tell you why.
So we get the next scene, which is outside the police station, and this could well be one that we look back on later and go, aha. Well, there's Dee Dee talking to Joel on the phone, and she's peed off at him because he's been assigned the duty solicitor for Nathan's case, which means that he's actively working against her. But what's interesting to me here is when Kit then came out and spoke to Joel and said, look, the forensics are back, we know about the hair, let's come in. And as of this point in the story, we've seen Friday's episode, it's definitely still a possibility that Kit and Joel are somehow in cahoots.
Yes.
And that's going to be a later reveal.
That is still possible.
It's not out of the question.
But it's not necessarily likely.
No. Well, it's very possible that it could just be Joel, and Joel's the one, the single one behind this. But I think because over the past few weeks, we've been kind of going over the idea of, could it be two of them? Like a lot of us were saying, or maybe Nathan and Joel, and Joel are working together on this. I've kind of got it stuck in my head that this could be, a pair of them now. It's clearly not Nathan that Joel is working with, because we saw on the scene in today's episode when they were in the prison, there was no reason for them to not be open and honest, apart from the guards.
They could have spoken in a code that we would have understood, but they clearly weren't.
Yeah. So Kit coming out and getting Joel, I was kind of watching, how are we going to get anything from this? But we didn't. Back to the interview, and Nathan is told that, this hair that was found in the back of his van.
Well, they say DNA. They don't say what it is.
Oh, didn't he?
You've written down.
It was Lauren's, and he's like, I have got no idea how this got here. Must have been planted. And Kit says, well, too late. It's like, we're going to charge you. And he's led away. And this is when Kit gives a little smile, and then we get his flashback of planting the...
He's only been in it a few weeks. He's already got his own flashback.
I know. So he's a proper dodgy copper. Was he just doing it? What was his motivation for this?
He's bent for justice.
Is he bent for Sarah? Was he just doing it to try and get his leg over?
Well, this is
in a strange, long-winded way.
Knowing his motivation here is the key to knowing whether he is in cahoots with Joel. Right, so he could be planting it because he wants to bolster evidence against Nathan in order to make sure that he and Joel don't get caught. He could be doing it because his career as a policeman is stalling and he is not getting any leads anywhere. And so by finding this evidence, he makes himself look good. He could be doing it because he just loves justice. He could be doing it because he just loves Sarah.
Roy would say this isn't justice.
He just fancies Sarah.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 motivations. And as time goes on, we're going to find out what it is which one of those is. I think it's more likely that it's to do with his career. Because all the jibes and the digs from Swain make me think he's been transferred because he's not up to snuff. And everybody goes to Weatherfield to circle the drain and die. As we can see from Craig.
I suppose the thing with Kit, though, is he doesn't know Roy well enough to know that it wasn't him. Like, as far as Kit's concerned, they've already got their man. So why try and implicate someone else and just confuse things? But
yeah,
I prefer the idea that he is working with Joel.
I would love if that was true.
If that turns out to be a reveal at some point in the future, brilliant. Because I don't particularly see Kit as having a long-term future in this show. So he's going to be written out for one reason or another.
I don't know.
He's already been shown to be not the kindest of person based on how he treated Bernie last week. I don't know. No clue. Anyway.
So he gets carted off.
Yeah, Nathan gets carted off.
Well, hang on, no.
What?
Kit's smiling. He tells Swain and Joel that Sarah was by the van, but she definitely didn't plant it. She didn't have time. And because Nathan's saying it was planted, and so Kit says that's right. It wasn't. And then Joel says, well, obviously this is desperate allegations of a guilty man.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to pursue this avenue of investigating whether this was planted or not.
Yeah. So he's now defending the guy that he needs to get sent down for this.
Yes.
To throw the scent off of
I
him.
love this. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we get a little bit more Bethany, and this is when Daniel makes up with her and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna dob your mum in. Team Platt all the way." He's just angling for an invite to
Platt.
He's just angling for an invite to Platt chat, isn't he?
You're not getting
he's not on it at the moment.
No, because again, just like Roy and just like Joel, he'd be on there going, "Sorry, Gail, I didn't know if that was a question or not because you did put a question mark on the end of your sentence."
Yeah, Daniel would be totally criticising the grammar in the Platt chat if he was a member.
Are we communicating with emojis now? We not articulate our feelings in sentences.
Right, Dee Dee goes to the cafe and says, "Hey everybody, Nathan's been charged. Roy can come home." Now, I don't understand. I don't know the intricacies of this. If somebody else is charged for something with maybe better evidence, because the evidence against Roy was always fairly flaky, and the fans have certainly been pointing that out, the viewers have been. Does the person who's in prison get immediately let out?
They must do, because then you're being held illegally, aren't you?
It just feels like...
There's no legal grounds for you to be there.
It feels like it should take a little bit longer, just because of the general red tape and admin that would happen. But no, we go from this...
But I just want to say, it is obviously a strength, but it also feels like a bit of a weakness, but it's more of a strength. That you can't just lock lots of people up for the same crime.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been you,
We've got 10 people locked up for this, so we've definitely got our man.
There's definitely a guy in here who done it.
Sorry, the other 9 of you. Anyway, Roy, meanwhile, is sitting at the table in his cell, and Griff's saying, write the note, and Roy says, "No, Nina's not going to believe it. He needs to hear it from me." So Griff's like, "Fine, phone her up." He gives Nina a ring. She's like, "What the hell?" We got the alarm bells going, and Roy's going, "Oh, I love you, I love you."
Yeah. I mean, this was
this is a great emotional scene,
but again, it needed more time.
Yeah. It was over far too quickly. David Nilsson was as fantastic as always here, but
Nina was going, "What's happening?" There wasn't enough time. Like, can't. Oh. I just really feel like it's such a missed opportunity.
And before you know it, the SWAT team have come in. They've dragged Griff away.
What made them go in?
I think that they were just got there.
Yeah, I know, but why was Griff not going, "No, I'll stab him"? And also, why is Griff letting him phone up Nina to write the note? But the gig's up.
Yeah.
Everybody knows he's not going to kill himself, Griff. They're all outside, they can see him.
You're right. It was just it
fell apart
at
the last minute,
and it had
all
lovely.
The makings of a really brilliant. Imagine if there had been a lengthy scene with Griff and Roy locked in the cell together, with Griff with the knife and Roy's trying to talk him out of it. And we get scenes of those two talking, and Roy saying, "I've always found your stance to be illogical, and I can't understand how you can treat humans the way that you do." And then Griff could come up with a stupid speech about whatever.
And I'm not saying that I need to see a dead body on Britain's Got Talent week every year, But I think just to have maybe boosted the excitement of this particular scene, we could have had Griff or Roscoe or somebody.
Think Roscoe would have. I really love Griff. I will see him back. I don't think he will come back now. Because I think he's going to have to be in very extra naughty jail now. But if Roscoe had to have been sacrificed, I mean that would be a reward for all the character development, wouldn't it? Because at the moment we've got this really developed character that they did in a couple of weeks. That's now just sitting by himself going, "Oh, I'm in trouble now."
Yeah, but what we get is Roy kind of sobbing on the phone there, saying, "It's okay, it's over." And Nina's like, "What the hell is going on?"
What do you mean? What's
this
over?
is when the music starts playing again, and then immediately it cuts to the scene where he's being let out of the prison. Then they're in the cafe and they've got this big welcome back Roy party for him. And I'm sorry, but that was the weakest welcome back, you've been wrongfully incarcerated party I've ever seen on Coronation Street. I was just comparing it to like Deirdre's release, and when she comes out and she sees John being led in and Mike and Ken are there going, "Hey," and then I'm making this up, but I can picture her like walking into the Rovers and all the main characters are there saying, "Yeah, free the Weatherfield one, we've done it, hooray, welcome back Deirdre.
We saved the cobbles." Hang on, that's the wrong story.
And this was... It was Evelyn, who hadn't really done much this
Evelyn's
week.
going, "Did you read the book then?"
Dee Dee, Joel, Yasmin, Carla and Nina. You're telling me they're the only people that care about Roy coming back?
There were some extras in the corner.
There were a couple of nodders in the background going, "Oh yes, it is good that Roy's back."
And I also
the whole of this story with Roy being in prison has felt like there should be far, far more people that care. Sally didn't care that Roy's been locked up, the Baileys don't care, apart from Dee Dee, that Roy's been locked up. No, Dev doesn't care. Why not? Why isn't this a whole street celebration? Hooray, Roy's back. Yeah. They're just keeping their heads up, keeping their noses down this week, aren't they?
Also, I love the way that these scones, these afternoon tea sets have been out on the counter all of Monday. And then as soon as Roy gets released, they're like, "Oh, Roy, look, we've celebrated with afternoon tea." Don't believe them, Roy. They just couldn't sell them. They're left over.
This was the same day, though, wasn't it?
I know, but they're still stale because they've been sitting out.
This is how you could tell it was a special week. Not like the special fancy camera effects or the half-hour format, is because they actually had real, genuine scones in Roy's rolls and not just plastic food like they usually have. That's where they blew the budget. Anyway, they're there. What?
I just wanted to say another thing about a missed opportunity. Imagine if you had Nina and Carla on the phone with Roy being held hostage and they'd actually been able to talk to him instead of screaming, "Oh my God, I'm going to die," and I'm sorry, I love you," or whatever he was saying, and then beep, 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 and they're going, "Oh no, what's happening? Oh my God."
Just saying, it should have been an hour long.
Imagine if they had them sit, Roy's one side of the cell and Griff's there with the knife going, "If you move, I'll stab you." And Nina's like, "What's he doing now?" And Roy's like, "I don't know, he's just looking at me." And Nina says, "Well, ask him what he wants." There could have been so much. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah.
And they just went, "Oh no, we'll just do that 5 seconds, have it." Because really, what we want on Friday is a big scene with Glenda and Michael to make and cleaning up after the car wash.
That's what we're waiting for,
that,
isn't it?
yeah.
But what about the simmering romance between Glenda and Michael? I was really, really shocked. My biggest shock this week, not that Joel was the murderer, because I suspected that for a while, was that Roy was out of prison by the end of Thursday's episode.
I know.
Like, whoa, I almost got whiplash there. I did not expect him to be walking out of Highfield by the end of that episode.
That's why, it didn't work. That section didn't work. Why do so many things in 1.5 hour episode? Even in an hour episode, this would have been a stretch to fit both stories in.
And considering Roy has been, I guess, the main focus of this.
Yes.
And it's everything, Roy Cropper is innocent, free Roy Cropper. They just didn't give him quite enough screen time.
But this is kind of like what they did with Pat Phelan's final week, where he wasn't even in it for 3 episodes properly.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not complain because we've got the big old reveal coming up next.
Tell me
like
what
I
happens.
said, we had Dee Dee and Joel there standing by the partition in the cafe, and I was like, he's gonna go out to his car, he's gonna do it, and he did. He walks out.
It's his car.
It's his car that Hope found the necklace in. Hope's there leaning against it, saying, "Oh, I found this in your car earlier." Gives it to him, and then this is when, like, if everybody, if you hadn't put your pieces together already at this point, this was the moment. He has his own flashback. It was him. It was him beating up
on
Lauren.
the head with the chair.
Yeah.
And then, this is what I never do. I never look in mirrors, because if I'm having a flashback, I don't want it to be revealed it's me.
I loved that. The looking in the mirror scene, when he's got his greasy, slick, kind of weaselly hair.
He's like, he's like pushing it back, like, I'm enraged.
Yeah. The look on that Callum was able to put
evil.
It was pure. It was like desperation. It wasn't like evil, like mwahaha. There was no moustache twirling
like
here.
Proper grimly evil.
Yeah, he was absolutely superb.
I just want to imagine the audition process for this part, where he goes in, he's like, "Hello, yes, I'm Callum. I'm here to audition for the role of Joel." And they're like, "Yes, that's right. We told you he is a boring lawyer, and he is just a very competent." And he has a girlfriend. He's gonna be going out with Dee Dee, so we're gonna have to do some scenes with you and Shanique just to see if you get on. But just out of interest, could you just give me a really evil look into this mirror, just to see how it looks like? And he's like, why are you asking me to do? No. And just also, if I give you this chair leg, can you just, how does that feel in your arms? He's like, oh, it feels very natural. I want to kind of swing it at someone. Like, yeah,
you got the job.
Interesting, Callum. Yes. Keep that in your mind.
So he's been, as soon as the episode came out on Thursday, then that's when the interviews dropped with Callum. Yeah. And one of the things he said was that he knew about this all along. So it was back
from the beginning.
May time last year, I think, when he was auditioned for this. And yeah, they told him basically, you are going to be a lawyer. You're going to be involved in killing somebody. So he's had this in the back of his mind all the time. And
but he hasn't done anything at all. There's no hint or in his performance of like, I'm secretly an evil guy.
No, and the fact that
it would have been really tempting to have.
It was almost gone too far the other way, because for the first for months of his performance, of his character's introduction, when there was this story hadn't even happened and Lauren was still on the show, we were just saying, this guy is really dull.
This is
what
bland.
A boring, bland character this is.
Bread sauce job.
What a miscut, Dee Dee, she's brilliant. Let's give her a boyfriend that's going to get us excited. And now I see that
all along.
it was all along played to be dull and inconspicuous and unassuming. Exactly. I mean, I've seen stuff. We've all seen stuff with Callum on social media now, where he does his behind the scenes, and he's a really kind of fun, kind of vibrant sort of guy. And none of that came across in Joel's performance up until this week, because he was purposely trying to make
very
it
buttoned
under
up.
the radar.
And if you think about what Joel is, who he is as a person, he's concealing so much of his real temperament and personality from everybody on the street. So he is a master of disguise and manipulation. And the fact that they've done this from the beginning, I just love it so much. I was so excited. I was yelling at the TV like, yes, they did it. I'm so excited.
I was more restrained than you, and I think it was partly because I wanted something to really catch me by surprise. And the fact that it was the person that I've been saying all along.
I don't know what you want out of this show, Michael.
No, I don't. I can never be.
I was thrilled. Happy. This was the most exciting moment of revelation since Andy was revealed to be alive in the basement, because we theorised about that too. I think we joked about it. We never really thought that was going to happen. I think I wish I could go back now and listen. But in my mind, we were like, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny if that, blah, blah, blah. And it turned out it was really true, but they kept that secret just like they did this. And I don't even care that we kind of had a guess. Like I said, thinking of all the possible permutations of a story is not the same as predicting it, and I don't mind that we kind of guessed this was going to happen.
I mean, the difference, I suppose, with Phelan and Andy is that we were a lot more invested in both the characters of Phelan and Andy, and at the moment we're still in the situation where Joel, we weren't particularly invested in him up to this point.
But I love him.
Lauren,
now.
We certainly weren't. So now they've really got to, make it work and keep us.
No, he can do what he can. Joel now can go back to just being boring bread sauce Joel again, and I still will love him till the day he dies, which undoubtedly he will.
Well, he had a good moment in Friday's episode, didn't he? With that scene with what's her face?
What's her face?
Ellie.
Yes. My question is, will Joel be the only killer to live through his story? Because they've got an opportunity here. Joel would be an excellent person to keep around at the end. I can't see how he's going to die. I mean, I didn't know how Uncle Stephen was going to die, but there were a few possibilities. But Joel, it doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to go out with a blaze of violence, you know? Dee Dee, I can't see Dee Dee killing him.
No.
Exactly. So could he survive his story and end up locked up? And then threatening to, be released every, few years, or get a story in prison where somebody has to go in and there's Joel, evil Joel.
I mean, he could just end up being thrown into prison and Griff being there.
Yes.
And that's the last we see of them. Like Griff going into Joel's, and we're left to think for ourselves how he ends up. That
would be a great end to his story. Oh, I want that to happen.
The thing is, I don't believe that Joel is a killer.
What?
He's not. He's not.
What are you talking about?
Lauren isn't dead. I don't believe that Lauren's dead. They even, I don't... People are saying online, I don't know how she could have survived those blows to the head. And 100% I agree. Although the camera was zoomed out a little bit more. And whether, was he hitting her over the head, or was he just hitting the ground next to her to scare her? I don't know. There was blood. That's another point, actually. Why did he leave so much evidence? Why was there? Or was it just a case of, I got to get out here quick and hope that they don't suspect it was me?
I don't think he left lots of evidence. He left a patch of blood on the carpet
and all up the curtains,
some up the wall. But we didn't even notice that, did we, ourselves? He could have just said, "This is such an ugly curtain," just like we did.
So Joel all along then was the secret boyfriend. ITV.
Yes. We weren't sure about this on Thursday, but by Friday, once we saw him with Ellie, it was obvious.
Yeah, and the whole necklace thing was a bit of a giveaway. Really, that was the main clue. I've seen...
Oh, God.
Was it The Mirror put an article out saying, here's all the clues that you missed, that Joel was Lauren's killer/attacker. And there wasn't much, was there? There was the necklace. There was the fact that he disappears off screen for a little bit around the time that Lauren disappears. But he was never, on screen very much anyway. And that was about it. And the ITV YouTube channel also put on, here's all the clues about Joel. There was nothing.
The only clue was the necklace. That was the only clue. They put the statue up there, and they were like, look at the statue. No.
Well, the little girl statue.
The little girl statue had nothing to do with it. Why did you even put that in the video? Because you never use that as a proper clue. They set that up and then they didn't do anything with it.
I'd kind of would have liked for there to have been a few more clues. I mean, you could say that these flowers were a bit of a clue when both Dee Dee and Lauren were presented with similar flowers on the same day. Could say, go on.
No, yeah, carry on.
I saw somebody online saying that the fact that Dee Dee won't go to bed with him might lead you to say, well, he needs to find his somewhere else to get his rocks off.
I don't like that, because that's victim blaming.
But I mean, I'm sure that will come up.
Yeah, I know, but it's also making women responsible for what men do, and I know that's not the intention. I know that's not the intention of people saying that, but it unfortunately feeds into that idea that if only his girlfriend had sex with him, he wouldn't be a serial killer. Don't know if that's true. No, I'm not sure about that.
Joel was her solicitor right back from the beginning. Lauren's solicitor right back from September.
The first time he was introduced, he was the duty solicitor for Lauren, and I think that's where they met.
Yeah, that was after she trashed the salon, wasn't it? I think.
Right.
So, I mean, are we to believe then that she was so grateful to him for helping her out there that, as Griff said, the only way that she knows how to thank a man is with her body?
No, you're doing it again. That's not... I know that's not what you mean to say. But actually, it's not her, it's him.
What's him?
You're saying, the only way she knows how to thank him is with her body. No, he manipulated her into thinking that she had to put out to reward him for what he'd done.
Not necessarily, because we saw her...
No, you can't...
No, I can.
No.
Because we saw her doing that to Roy. When she came on to Roy, he didn't invite any of that.
You really think that Joel had nothing to do with her... No, you're putting it all on her. It's not. It's him. We know it's him because he's also found this other girl.
Yeah, he has.
I don't think you're listening to what I'm trying to say, or maybe I'm not explaining it properly. But it's not because she offered herself to him, because, like you said, she offered herself to Roy, and Roy said no. It's because Joel said yes. And who's to say that she... I mean, I don't know when she offered herself to Roy, but maybe it led on from what Joel had done to her.
No. The Roy one was back about a year ago or so, nearly.
But I think you need to listen to what I'm saying when I say it's you can't put it on to anybody but Joel.
Well, no, okay, fine. But that may have been then when it started.
But you can imagine Joel going, hey, I'll just text and see how you're, I'm your lawyer now, so I've got your phone number and just check in, see if you're all right, are you feeling okay and everything. Oh, I'm a bit shaken up, but I'm really grateful that you were able to help me. Oh, that's no problem at all. Maybe we should get a coffee sometime and I can, help you go through the next steps. And then they get coffee and then he's like, you said you were really grateful and stuff, and I think you're a sweet girl. So why don't we just go out for a meal together? And that could be your way of saying thanks. And then you set it up like that. And then, at the end of the date, she's thinking, oh, I can't just have a free dinner.
Yeah, okay. Maybe.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's a totally different way of you going, oh, and then she just says, I'll just sleep with you. Because do you see what I mean?
So I've been also wondering about this. Did Lauren know that he was going out with Dee Dee at the same time? Because there was definitely some overlap here.
Well, she talks about she calls him her boyfriend, and she says he's got a fancy car, but he can't come round. And I'm trying to remember what the overlap between the friends groups and the socialisation groups, because there is a kind of what's the word? We kind of, when we watch the show, we kind of think everybody knows everybody. The same way that people who watch the show think all the actors know each other and they all hang out together and stuff, and that's not, some of them never ever seen together. So did the social groups overlap? Would there have ever been a point? Was there a point where she saw them together? There must have been a point when, did Lauren ever see...
You'd have thought so.
But he was only really, the reason why the necklace or the receipt came up was because he bought it in December, and I can't remember who it was, Sarah and Adam, teased Dee Dee about finding that receipt in Joel's wallet.
Yeah.
And they thought that he was going to propose to her. So they were so serious by December that there was a hint of a proposal.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were then, they must have been openly walking around, but how many scenes were there? Did they ever get breakfast together in Roy's? I don't know. But also, if Lauren's kind of viewing it as a more of he's like my boy. That's what Ellie said. He's like my boyfriend. I think of him more as a boyfriend, but she knew that he was her client.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how the relationship was between him and Lauren. Like, I know that you're paying me for these dates, but I feel like you're my boyfriend. But, I know that it's different from how you are with Dee Dee.
I'm trying to remember how much Lauren was trying to keep him a bit of a secret and a mystery.
Well, she tried to get him to come.
She tried to get him to go
hang
along
out,
to the
and he was
party.
like, I'm too busy.
Yeah, which surely she wouldn't have done if she'd known that it would have revealed that, this is Dee Dee's boyfriend. I don't know. I'm sure it would all become clear.
I mean, it's obvious that it wasn't. It was because Joel was like, no way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not because
I can't.
It wasn't her choice.
Yeah. So, what?
Oh, I love it. I just love this.
Some people I've seen wondering or maybe even worrying that he's going to be the next serial killer.
Yay!
I don't think that there's any chance in that happening. I think it's far too soon after Stephen. No way are they going to make him kill again. Like I said, I'm 100% convinced that Lauren is still alive somewhere and just nursing her sore head, but I don't think it's going to go that far.
Somebody might be in mortal peril before the story's end.
Possibly. I mean, I wonder, what's happening with Hope now? Because he at the end of Thursday's episode, he kind of has a look down towards number 9, which is where Hope heads off to. He knows that she has potentially got some evidence on him now. Now, I don't believe that Hope
doesn't have any idea.
No, she's not got an inkling that this piece of evidence, or this necklace she's got, could be the crucial piece of evidence to see him sent down, but he might want to silence her. And, you know, the fact that he's whacked this Lauren over the head and looks so desperate that he will resort to any measure to try and save himself. Could he go after Hope, I wonder?
If he's clever, what he'll do is he'll buy a necklace that looks a bit like that one, and then he'll say to Hope, look, please don't tell anybody about that necklace because it's a secret present for Dee Dee.
Yeah.
Right, and then he'll give Dee Dee a similar necklace and hope that Hope doesn't realise that they're two different necklaces.
Yeah, I mean, if not, I can certainly foresee a scene where Hope says to Dee Dee, even though she has nothing ever to do with her, Hope might go and say, oh, did you get that necklace off your boyfriend? And what necklace is that? And then that's how it all comes out. But I think it's going to be a long time before that comes out.
And it has to be similar enough that Hope could believe it's the same necklace, but different enough that Dee Dee's not going, why are you giving me this necklace? That was a clue.
Yeah. There's still so much that we need to talk about. Should we just get Friday out of the way first?
I think we got to.
And then we'll carry on talking about this is a long old street talk. This is Gemma. It's your turn for Friday. So remind us what happened today. The come down day.
The kids are clearing up after the car wash, and there's a bit of a thing between Glenda and Michael. Then Joel and Dee Dee are like all loved up, and he gets called away by a phone call, which is Nathan. Roy now is going through the phase that everybody on Coronation Street has to go through when they have trauma, is that they're just being an arse. And I know it's within character, and I'm supposed to be sympathetic and stuff, but I'm it wears thin now for me. I know that he's beloved, and I'm going to get crap for this, but he's just an asshole to people every so often when he has trauma, and because it's Roy, you forgive him and it's okay. But in real life, he wouldn't have any friends left by this point. Do you know, like, I couldn't act like this to my friends.
Yeah, he was an arse to Carla, and Sam, that scene with Sam later on when he comes around with Nina to play chess with him, and Roy's like, find people your own age.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it's... Yeah, can we not promote coping strategies that don't involve just alienating everybody? But everybody does this on this show. I don't know really what I want out of it, because if they were like, oh, I'm fine, I don't care, that would be unrealistic. But I just don't think everybody needs to go through this, reject my friends.
I mean, I suppose with Carla, he's still narked with her because of the whole false evidence, and then with Sam, it's because it was his games of chess with Sam that partly led people to think that he was a bit peculiar. And
he does.
People talking.
Yeah, he does say that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
About I'm weird, and it's because I'm weird that. So what does he do? Comes back and just is weird. You know, you're just being weird in a different way now. So you didn't solve any problems. Roy's got the cafe closed, and Carla's trying to talk to him, and he's deep cleaning the kitchen, and Swain comes in and wants to talk to him, but we'll bring that up in a minute. Meanwhile, Bethany is being hounded by journalists who wants comments about Nathan, and Daniel says it's not a good idea, especially with all this dodgy evidence, which, by the way, I'm still not on board with. And what if it comes out that it was planted? And Bethany says, oh, I want to talk to Ellie again. And Daniel thinks that she's not going to talk because...
So this was the girl. For anyone that just listens to this podcast and doesn't bother watching the show, Ellie, remember, is the girl that Nikki put them in touch with a few weeks ago. Nikki was supposed to be talking with her, wasn't she? And then Bethany comes on saying, hello, speak to me. I've been trafficked just like you.
You've been abused by Nathan like I was.
Why are you running away?
So she's convinced that Ellie knows Nathan and she's been abused, and Lauren was the same, and Lauren's the victim of Nathan, and that if she can get Ellie to say, yes, Nathan harmed me, then she can make another link between Nathan and what happened to Lauren.
Well, it's because the evidence that they've got so far is so flimsy, they need something a little bit firmer to get to the police.
Whether she's starting to second guess herself now.
What do you mean?
Like, maybe it wasn't Nathan. You know, I need more evidence to prove it was Nathan, because maybe there's a shadow of a doubt now in my mind.
Maybe.
Right, so in the prison, Nathan's saying to Joel that Sarah planted this evidence. And Joel says, do you think that's a bit of a stretch here? It looks dodgy, right? You're accusing the mother of his victim of planting evidence. things aren't looking good for you. I was thinking to myself, but that's exactly who would have a motive.
I know.
So he says the chances are you're going to get found guilty. So maybe you should plead guilty, and then we'll get you a lesser sentence.
I love this because this is just Joel trying to say, it was me that did it, but it's, you know, you might as well just plead guilty. You might as well take the rap for it. I love this.
Nathan says to Joel, "Do you think I did it?" And he says, "Well, it doesn't matter what I think. I've got to defend you. But it looks really bad." And Nathan's like, "I didn't do it." Evil Nathan. Swain's talking to Roy, and she says, all the charges have been dropped. And he's like, what about this? No, don't worry about it. What about that? Don't worry about it. What about Bobby? Don't worry about it. What about Carla? Don't worry about it. It's all fine. Do you want to press charges against Griff? And Roy says, well, in the spirit of things, no, don't worry about it. It's all over. The head vampire's dead. Everyone's back to normal. Swain says, look, I think you seem a bit traumatised. Why don't you talk to somebody like Carla? She's your friend. No matter what you did, what she did it for you. And if I had a friend like that, I wouldn't be chasing her away. Oh, yeah. Daniel calls Nikki wanting to be put back in touch with Ellie and asks if Bethany can speak to her. And Nikki's like, this is a stupid idea. And Bethany's like, I'm really sorry. Like, look, you still can't keep your mouth shut. You can't help but burst in.
When I saw that today's episode, again, I didn't read a synopsis for today, but I just saw that the title in the synopsis of today's episode is like Bethany's out on the invest. I was like, oh, it's going to be another Bethany episode, is it? We're going to. She's just got a way about her, like she's just so insistent. She's just like really irritatingly plucky. Yeah.
So Bethany's like, we need more evidence. We can't let Nathan get away with this because he'll start doing this to other girls. So Ellie agrees to meet up with her, and she wants to go. Daniel wants to go with her, and she's like, no, it's just got to be me. Then we get Roy going to the factory to see Carla to talk about how, like we said, his peculiarities make him look guilty. And he tells her what Swain said about Griff. Not Griff, about Bobby.
Sorry, yeah.
And how Carla only had his best interests at heart. And he's like, I forgive you. Then we get to see Bethany at Ellie's flat. And she says, I'm really sorry, I just mouthed off. And I want you to tell me what happened with you and this man. So Ellie's saying, this guy, he was more like a boyfriend than a client. And when you're listening to this, I want you to remember that this is what Lauren would have said about her relationship with Joel. Okay? Bethany thinks she's talking about Nathan. Ellie says he was more like a boyfriend than a client, but one time he got nasty. And we know that that's what happened to Lauren once because we saw the bruises. Mm-hmm. And that's probably a very good reason why Joel didn't leave the body there, because he could have very well just killed her and made it look like a burglary. Yeah. But there's probably evidence on her body that would point back to him, which is very graphic, but Coronation Street did it, not me. So
this is basically everything that Bethany wants to hear, yes, isn't it? Like because we find out later that it's all a bit of a ruse, but it was working perfectly to make her look like she's being desperate, and Ellie's being worn down and revealing what Bethany wants to hear.
Yeah. So Bethany hears all this stuff, and then she says, if I showed you a picture, would you tell me if it was him? And she's like, yeah. And she shows her a picture, and it's of Nathan. And at this point, you're thinking, oh, if it turns out that she shows her the picture, it's going to be the wrong one. So she's going to say, oh no, that's not the guy. And then it's all going to come out that it was Joel.
Yeah, when Ellie confirmed, yeah, that's him, I was like, what? So yeah, Nathan is still doing this.
It was definitely Nathan that did it. And then she's like, brilliant. Okay, so if you can go to court and say that it was this guy, then we can get him banged away. And she's like, no way, I'm not doing that. My mum doesn't know what I do.
My poor sick mother.
This could kill her, and I'm also scared, and I'm not going to do it.
If mum finds out that she's a sex worker, that is.
Yes, that's right. So she doesn't want that to happen, and so And also Bethany's like really tactless, and she's like, you were lucky to get away from him, luckier than Lauren was. And she's like, I don't feel lucky. Anyway, Bethany's like, she's like, please can you talk to the police about this? And Ellie will not committing to it. Yeah. So she leaves, and then Joel pops out of another room going, well done, you did the right thing calling me, I'm evil now. And then he's got this money, and he's like giving it to her and then snatching it back, just being an absolute dick.
Yeah, he's just like toying with her, isn't he?
And then he says, "Good girl." It's so gross.
But it wasn't still like. No,
I know. It was just sleazy.
I was waiting and really, really desperately hoping for some kind of end of week twist. In Friday's episode, and although we didn't get it, this was probably the closest that it was. And when he emerges from the shadows, that completely caught me off guard, and that probably caught me off guard more than almost anything else that happened this week, because I'd been expecting Joel to be revealed as the Lauren bludgeoner, but I didn't expect him to be there. So what are we taking away from that then? So it
proves that he was Lauren's secret boyfriend. It proves he's got a pattern of behaviour. It insinuates that he's got more victims.
Yeah, is he collecting them all at once, or was it that he moved on from Lauren to Ellie? Because I think it was early January that Lauren talked about breaking up with her secret boyfriend, wasn't it? And that was also when Lauren was attacked.
Ellie proves that it's not just Joel's like, oh, I'm just a good boy that got caught in a bad situation. I got involved with Lauren, and, she did fall down the stairs, so she had the bruises, and then, maybe we got into a fight and I got angry and I killed her by accident. That's not what happened. He's got a pattern of behaviour. He manipulates these vulnerable young girls. He clearly finds them. I don't know how does he find them? That's a good question. Yeah. Like, is he involved in some kind of legal thing with her?
I'm sure that his position as a solicitor can, get him some kind of contacts.
He's obviously works and as that duty solicitor to get access to his victims, just like many predators will do. Get themselves in positions of power over vulnerable people so that they can manipulate and take advantage of them. She describes what Lauren would have said. He bought me presents and he was like my boyfriend. So we also kind of, he's obviously a John, as they would call it, like he buys sex from people.
You can tell that. It's interesting because, like, looking at her expression at the end of the scene, she can tell that what she's done isn't right necessarily. Like, she doesn't feel this great affection for him. She's scared with him, and she knows that he was toying with her with the money. And when he was like, "Bye, Bethany," she knows that he's an evil piece of work. Yet she still phoned him to tell him about
because she's desperate in a situation where he's manipulated her to, like, rely on him and also be scared of the consequences if she doesn't go along with it. Like,
yeah, if he were to find out that she spoke to him without telling him, then she'd definitely
spoke to Bethany.
Yeah, sorry, Bethany, but then she'd definitely be scared of the consequences from Joel then.
And I also think there were a few times when Lauren kind of like broke up with Joel or said that she was mad at him, and he won her back in some way or gave her something. And there was that bit. The other thing is, the watch that she tried to give Max, was that Joel's watch? Actual watch?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Because she said she bought it with the money he gave her. But I don't know. So
there was a whole lot of stuff back from round about the autumn where she was talking to this secret person on the phone, and he was trying to get money off her, wasn't she? Wasn't he?
I don't know.
And she was saying, I'll get you your money. So did she owe Joel for something? I don't know.
Well, hang on. This would probably be something along the lines of, just maybe a guess, that he says, it gets to a stage where she's not just being nice to him because he helped her, but she's obligated now. Like, I'm doing stuff for you, so you do stuff for me. This is a transactional relationship. So if I help you with legal stuff, you got to do, you got to put out for me or whatever.
Yeah.
And then eventually she says, no, I don't want to. I want to be Max's girlfriend. I want to be Bobby's girlfriend or whatever. I don't want to be your girlfriend anymore. And he's like, well, then in that case, then you owe me money for me being your solicitor. So you either pay me in one way or another. So you owe me all this money then. That could have been how he manipulated her. That could be what he's doing to Ellie too.
Do you pay for duty solicitors?
No. They don't know that, they do, though.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with a duty solicitor. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to sleep with them. But if I'm in a bit of a pickle and you get me drunk and maybe tell me the right things, I might start believing it. Who knows?
Especially if you've had years of
being told that you pay for things,
doing things for men, older men.
Yeah, or that's how it works. I don't know.
Anyway.
There's lots of possibilities that are very unsavoury. So, Nina's with Roy in the flat. Oh, no, first of all, I skipped the bit where Sam comes to see Roy.
I'd said about
and he's
that
standoffish and says, you find someone your own age. And then poor old Sam goes. He's like, I'll get it, I'll go. And Nina then, in Roy's flat, is having a go at him as nicely as she can be, considering that he's in a vulnerable position as well. Going, why are you being horrible to Sam? And trying to chastise him, and he's like, look, I'm not Sam's dad, I can't help him, because Nina's laying it on thick with like, oh, he's having troubles at home, and Roy's
he's
like,
like, speak to Nick and Leanne then, shouldn't he? Are we going to have Sam go mute again for this? I'm sure that there'll be a heartwarming reunion between them fairly shortly. But it was sad for the time being.
Carla goes to the station to talk to Swain to say, look, I don't know what you said to Roy, but thanks. And Swain says, we're not taking anything further with Bobby. And,
honestly.
And I know, he should be Captain Irons.
I'm fed up in Coronation Street of people doing criminal activities, just like minor, and then just getting away with it at the end. And
but do you remember
something else comes along?
When Kevin punched John Stape?
Yes.
And we were like, ha ha ha, brilliant. And then John Stape was like, no, that's illegal. And then Kevin actually went to jail. And we were like, oh, what? Consequences? I can't believe it. But he's doing it for the right reasons. They bring back that era.
Yeah.
So Carla says, oh, but you mentioned Betsy is into fashion. Why doesn't she come? She can come and do some work experience at the factory if you want. And Swain's like, oh, thanks. And Carla's like, oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah, Carla kind of leaves with a bit of a smile on her face.
And honestly, Swain looks like really giddy, like, she came to see me at work.
Yeah.
It was very cute.
Yeah.
Joel's in the pub and he is distracted because Bethany is talking to Daniel and saying, I can't stop investigating. I won't leave this with the police. And he's like, And he now knows that she's the new focus. Because in the evening, when Dee Dee's sleeping on the sofa, he gets his iPad out and reads Bethany's article, and he zooms in on her face, and he does this kind of like...
Yeah, so what's going on here? He knows that Bethany is still not letting the matter drop when he really, really needs her to.
But he's also he obviously has a thing for young blonde women. Does he? Obviously, I think he fancies her as well as hating her.
But I don't think he's going to try and seduce her or groom her or anything like that. He wouldn't be so stupid to think that that's going to work.
No. I don't know what he might try with her, though.
He just needs to stop her investigating, doesn't he? And I don't know how he's going to do that yet.
We get her to write another article about air fryers.
Okay, right. We've reached the end of the week at last. There's still so much we haven't talked about.
I know.
I want to talk about Emily, Joel's wife.
What is she up to? I was suspicious of her from the start. Now, she's either a really nice, oblivious woman, just like Dee Dee is, who only thinks the best of him, or she's also in on it somehow, or she's been paid off by him to pretend to be the wife.
I get the impression that she's in on it as well, but then that would only make sense if he's in some kind of bigger gang.
Yes, it doesn't really. It's not.
When we were suggesting that maybe Nathan and Joel were in it together, then it would make sense that it's a ring and Emily plays a part in this in the same way that he was trying to get Shona. Nathan was trying to get Shona to be a part of it.
Nathan also had that other woman, didn't he, that worked?
Oh yeah, Mel, was it? She was called. But it seems at the moment, at least, like Joel's on his own. And so there's no reason for him. Like, I can't believe that he would, Emily would be saying, yeah, I'm going to facilitate you getting off with all these young girls.
I mean,
dues.
There are few and far between, but very notorious cases of male and female serial killers who do it for sexual gratification. But there's no indication whatsoever that Emily is involved in any of that.
No.
But is Maeve real?
I can't remember. We obviously didn't see Maeve, but we had Joel a few weeks ago saying, I'm going to go and meet up with her for the first time. And that was so scary. I can't remember whether Dee Dee went with him.
I think he asked her to wait outside.
I can't remember.
And
I'd like there to be a big twist reveal that Maeve doesn't exist, but I could be barking at the wrong tree.
I mean, it makes more sense if Emily and Maeve are real, because the questions that are raised and the complications that ensue if they're not real are so vast. I don't know where we'd even begin. And how easy would it be to unravel this? Because Joel seems like he really likes Dee Dee. He wants to be her boyfriend. He's not doing it for any ulterior motive, is he? There's no like secret, sinister plot for why he wants to be her boyfriend. He just likes her. Yeah. So, he must know that there's a time limit for pretending you've got a child and a wife.
Yeah.
But Emily just acted in such a bizarre way that I can't believe she's a real person, because
there was definitely something about her that felt off.
The situation is bizarre. She was with him. He cheated on her while she was pregnant. They broke up before Maeve was ever born. She gave him no access to this child. He only met her this year. Why would you, on the one hand, say, I'm sorry, you can't meet your own daughter, but on the other hand go, I can heartily recommend him as a boyfriend? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's weird.
The thing that counts against Maeve actually existing is that this receipt that was uncovered in December clearly 100% must have been for the necklace now, because we saw her getting the necklace that first week of December. We know that it was him that gave the necklace. Now, maybe he didn't get the necklace from that jeweller's, but that was clearly put in there by the showrunners for us to maybe start getting suspicious about him. I suppose the question is, was the receipt for something for Maeve and this necklace? I can't remember how much it was for.
£400.
Was it? And so maybe it was for two things. I wish...
No, it wasn't itemised, was it?
No. Which is very convenient for the plot, that it wasn't itemised. So maybe it was the necklace and whatever it was for Maeve.
I don't know. I think it's very suspicious that he hasn't seen... He's supposed to be a good guy. That's why I've never bought about him. This story that he's a good guy, but he's got a child he's never seen, and he cheated on his wife when she was pregnant. And the fact that he's a sexual deviant and a ne'er-do-well, that makes perfect sense now. That's the sort of behaviour I'd expect. But I'd also expect Emily to kick him out and never speak to him again, because I think what happened was she was pregnant, and I don't think Emily is Emily. I think there is a real Emily, but this woman is not her.
Ooh, what do you reckon?
And I think Emily was pregnant with Maeve. She found what Joel was going behind her back, because everything he's done apart from beating these poor girls and bludgeoning them to death is legal. Like, having a girlfriend is not illegal, even if you have a wife, right? But she found out about it, and then she dumped him, and she didn't want anything to do with him, so she's taken the kid and gone. But if you found out your boyfriend or your husband had a girlfriend that was a young girl, I mean, the underage stuff, that's illegal, to be clear, I know that. I'm not saying that bit. But if you found out that he was doing that, you would never go, oh, Dee Dee's he's a good guy, give him a chance.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
I hope we get to find out about that soon. I've got no idea where this is heading now. Like you said, it looks like he's maybe going after Bethany. The story... One of the things that the story had going for it before was that it was to do with Roy and his little entourage, and it feels like this is going to now carry on without him, and so it's going to rely on a lot of Bethany and Sarah and Daniel.
happy about that development.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happened with Pat Phelan and Uncle Stephen, where their undoing was the result of characters that I really don't like. So Pat Phelan was taken down by Anna, who I didn't like, and Uncle Stephen was taken down by Tim, who I think should die in a fire. And now you've got Sarah, who is the best one in the world, an idiot, and Daniel, who's a sanctimonious prat, and his stupid, like, Lois Lane wannabe girlfriend, Bethany, who's a bumbling idiot too, who rushes in with her mouth wide open, catching flies and making women run away.
I'm looking forward to seeing him being desperate now, because he's certainly not safe at the moment, and whatever he does, he's going to slip up at some point.
He's skated by being very cool and collected and always in control. And he looked a bit out of control on Friday's episode, but I think that was more for dramatic effect.
Yeah. I think that this necklace is obviously eventually going to come and bite him in the bum. I've got a feeling that it might be a while until we hear about this, and it's going to be
bubble under.
When they're ready to say, okay, let's ramp things up and maybe go towards some kind of conclusion here. That's when the necklace is going to get dropped in. How long do you see this story going?
To October.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it went longer than that. Like I said earlier, I don't think this is going to be turning into a long-running serial killer story. I definitely think that Lauren's going to come back at some point. If it's not now, then maybe she's not going to come back till October.
So the question is, if Lauren is actually not dead, then what has he done with her? And how did he get her out of the flat? Yeah, honestly, getting a live girl out of a flat is more difficult than a dead one.
Well, not if she's passed out.
But still, you can't... right, this is... I'm sorry you made me say it, but you can bend a dead woman into smaller bags than a live one. If you want to keep her alive, you got to maintain a certain level of, not bend her leg round her rear roll.
This is why I really love the idea of there being a second party, him having a companion.
If Emily is that person, then she's a psychopath like Myra Hindley level.
Well, perfect. For us.
But she didn't act like it, did she? I mean,
well,
you're not going to turn up.
They're very good at covering her.
You're not going to turn up and go,
psychopath.
Harley Quinn's my favourite character.
So it could be her. It may be Kit. I'm going to have my eye out on Kit now, because he's clearly willing to bend the rules himself. I wonder, when's Bernie going to find out?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder if Bernie will find out and kind of be good on you. If my son's going to be a copper, I'd rather he was a bent copper.
I don't know.
That's the sort of thing that Bernie would do. If she was a cop, she'd definitely plant evidence to get the guy. Don't you think?
But she's going to... I don't know. I think she's more likely to be torn between, do I report him for being a bent copper and risk our relationship? Not that we've got much of one.
Why would she report him? She would think it was great. Bernie is exactly that kind of person that would do that. Do you not think? I can imagine.
She might think it's great if it were to benefit her.
No, she would... If he went, look, Mum, I know this guy killed Lauren and I needed to make sure he was put away. You don't want a girl murderer loose on the streets. She said, no, of course not. You did the right thing. I think you should set more criminals up. I'll help you. Michael, she was selling her pregnant daughter's urine to people. She is certainly not up for following the rules to the T.
I mean, I don't really think that this story needs to have her related to him at the moment.
No.
He literally could have been brought in as anybody.
Yeah, is there going to be a plot reason for this relationship? Don't know. Not clear yet.
I kind of think we're maybe done with this.
I think we've said
it's been a long old street talk section. We've said a lot. We've said it in all kind of different sorts of orders. I'm hoping that we're going to get to see Betsy relatively soon, but it could well be that this can is kicked a lot further down the road, and this is just beginning to plant the seeds of Swain and Carla. But yeah, as soon as Betsy comes in, that's going to be quite fun. I saw somebody, maybe it was in an email that we got, actually, we'll find out later, but I thought of it too. I think that maybe putting her and Dylan together if is he still here? I think he is.
Who?
Betsy. I was just looking.
I don't even know what Betsy looks like.
No, I don't know what she looks like. Don't know who plays her. But according to her age, then she's roughly the same sort of Liam, Dylan sort of age. So I'm thinking that may be a couple to look out for in the future.
Children are baffling, aren't they? I mean, you've got Liam, who's 16.
Yeah.
And then you think about Kelly Nealon, who was 18, 17 when she left the show. Can you imagine possibility of Liam now going out with Kelly then?
No.
But there was only a year difference.
I know. Right, we've been waffling on far too long for this. The time has come to reveal our characters of the week and our scores for the week. Yeah, we've got to do this before we move on.
Joel's the character of the week because I think he is my favourite. He's my new... We have Uncle Stephen and now we have Nephew Joel. And Nephew Joel can come to Christmas anytime he wants. As long as he doesn't
just
kill
latch onto somebody just because they've been involved. He might not even be a killer. Will you be disappointed in him if he hasn't killed?
Well, I would hope that he would come to his senses and chop her head off.
I thought that, the best moment of the week was 100% that reveal on Thursday. There were lots of really strong characters. I thought that Swain was fantastic this week. I'm really glad that they delved into her backstory a little bit more. I'm
not even joking when I said that was so exciting. I was so hyper on Thursday. I know this is sad. Sorry, I don't care. I was so hyper on Thursday about how excited I was about this. I couldn't go to sleep. We were supposed to watch Corrie and then do a short, and then I wanted to watch a movie that I've got the review copy of that I've been wanting to watch for months, maybe years. I finally got hold of it and I wanted to watch it yesterday and I couldn't do anything.
You were just tweeting away.
Except look at my phone and smile about how brilliant it is. And I ended up going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning because I was just so excited.
Well, I'm glad that Coronation Street elicited that response from you. I'm just trying to think of what other characters are in the mix here. Dee Dee was good. We had Carla.
Well, Roy.
We had Roy, of course. I still think that was maybe the slightly weaker part of the week. I enjoyed Griff.
Nathan.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching Nathan this week, and I do wonder how much longer is he going to be in the show, because he's just
he's just the what's the word, the
scapegoat, isn't he? Now Joel's task is going to be to make it look like he's defending him, but actually making sure that he gets sent down. Do you think he will in the end? And does it matter that Nathan gets sent down for a crime he didn't do because he's a wrong un?
This is just the best.
I'm of the school that says Nathan has served his time for his crime, and I know it seems like he's been up to maybe some other stuff since.
There's definitely a contingent on to say that Nathan has not done anything wrong. He shouldn't be persecuted. But I'm going to say he's already texting girls on Ovids, which he's not supposed to be. And he's got dodgy stuff on his USB sticks. I don't think for 1 minute anyone planted them there. I think he's an incorrigible pervert and I think he should have his nads chopped off.
At the end of the day, though, Joel is clearly going to be caught for this. He's going to get his comeuppance. Soap law is going to...
I want him to just live with Dee Dee and happiness forever. And whenever anybody's horrible to Dee Dee, he just kills them. Also, I thought it was really nice and mature of Dee Dee that she was mad at him originally for being the duty solicitor that took up Nathan's case. But by the end of the day, on Friday, she's like, let's have a drink.
I know something that we haven't talked about. Why did Joel kill Lauren? What had she done to make him go to her flat? Was it just that she rejected him?
Hang on, no, you're doing it again. Why did he kill her? Not why was she killed?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, but what did she do? She didn't do anything. He's the killer.
No, of course. I mean, in his mind, what did she do?
I understand that, but as I know what you're saying, but we need to really think about how we talk about this stuff because it perpetuates and perpetuates this idea that women are responsible for being made into victims by men. What happened was he's a psychopath who killed her.
Or not. Was it just that he was... Did he feel... Because we saw that she'd been phoning him up saying, I'm not interested, I don't want your presence. Was he just so annoyed by this that he thought, I'm going to bludgeon you around the head?
Well, maybe he was worried that she was going to tell Dee Dee.
Yeah, possibly.
And I just want to point something out as well. I just want to make it clear. I don't think it's your fault, and I'm not blaming you or me because I would do it as well. The way we speak about these crimes is so entrenched in unconsciously blaming women for what is done to them that it's really hard to not accidentally victim blame. And I'm not trying to be sanctimonious, but I know everyone thinks I am. But I just think if we can just think a little bit about how we talk about it and maybe turn the language around and make it so that it's on the guy and not the woman, bit by bit, we'll make it better. Can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, because of how society is, it's even really hard to think of a way to talk about it that doesn't implicate her as being the person that caused it to happen.
Right, so...
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, of course I'm saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I know people get annoyed with me, but honestly, at this point, I don't care if you think that I'm a sanctimonious, because I think you're a misogynist.
So I think that
if that's what you think.
I think that there's going to be more flashbacks to come because we've seen a little bit of it, but
what did she do? What did that bitch do to make him kill her? She probably criticised his bread sauce.
and yeah, where is she now? Whether it's
dead.
Her corpse or whether it's, that's the most interesting thing. If she's not dead, it's been months now. What, 4 months maybe? Has he got her tied up somewhere? Is she still injured and recovering from it? Is she so scared to do anything that she's in hiding, yet still willing to see Roy go down if she knows about what's going on outside?
And here's the other interesting thing about it, is that she's gone now from this story. Almost completely, because now Roy's out of prison. It went from where's Lauren to, oh God, it wasn't Roy that killed her. Now Roy's out. Is anyone really going to care about Lauren or think about her again? I don't think so. Max seems to be completely over it. Bobby's just happy to not be in prison. Carla couldn't give two tosses about her. Everyone thinks Nathan did it. Case closed. Dust your hands off. That's the end of that. Is anyone going to be even thinking about her? I don't think so.
What, about trying to find her?
No, just about her in general.
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Especially Bobby, but I think it's Bobby and Max are the
Bobby
ones
and
that
Max
are most...
will never mention her again.
I don't agree with that.
Fair weather
but although
friends.
it was odd that Max didn't appear at all.
Yeah,
this
that's what
week.
I mean. That's what I'm saying. The whole week was not centred on Lauren at all, which is not a weakness at all.
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying,
I would rather it wasn't.
I will give Joel my character of the week. Yes. I think score wise, I'm good. It was, I don't think I've ever given a 5, so it wasn't that. I think that there were ups and downs in this week. It was clearly an above average week, but there were numerous parts where I think it would have been nicer if X, Y, Z. I really did appreciate the whole different perspective side of things, even though they didn't keep it up during the week. The music worked for me. The rewinds worked for me. I love it when they just focus on one story rather than jumping really about to all the others. There weren't very many brilliant comedy lines of the week. And really, a lot of what happened, I kind of thought would happen. In my mind, after Mondays, I was saying, well, there's going to be X, Y, Z, and then they're going to get there. And I was mostly right. So I'm a little bit disappointed there weren't more big twists. I think I'm going to stick with 400 miles away from Bethany Platt out of 5. I think that's fair for this week. Well,
4.
Yeah.
I would have given it a 4.5 if Mondays hadn't been so dull and Thursdays hadn't been so rushed. So I'm going to give it...
Also Wednesday, we both agreed, was a bit on the iffy side.
Thursday was the reveal, just... I mean, that's 5 out of 5 by itself. That was...
The way that they did it was very, very good.
I love that. I like the fake out with them making us... trying to make us think it was Nathan having the flashback when it was really Joel. I'm so thrilled. But I can only still give it 4 Batman of Alcatraz because because of the reasons I just said.
Lovely.
And that's it, isn't it?
That is it for this week's Street Talk. So we did have fewer minutes worth of Coronation Street to discuss, but we still managed to overrun by a good hour at least over what we usually do with Street Talk. And that's not even the end of the podcast either, because we got a bit of news and quite a bit of feedback to get through as well.
This is terrible.
So I don't know, we might do bits of feedback and leave other bits for next week like we've sometimes done in the past.
We've got to do that because this is ridiculous.
I'm
so sorry that this has gone so long.
No, some people like it. You could always listen to it on fast forward if you want to, although maybe we should have worn that at the beginning of the episode rather than it towards the end, but never mind.